Yes, people, welcome back to GNA TV and Chelsea Fan TV. Hope you guys are well, wherever it is that you may be around the world. I want to start by saying Happy New Year. You haven't seen my face for a little while, shall I say, 10 days without seeing Jem's face talking about Chelsea. You know, I've even struggled not even being able to talk about Chelsea, you know, especially being in Dubai. But I did arrive back yesterday. Yesterday into the UK. And lots happened since that. Obviously, Enzo Fernandez, someone that I spoke about highly and has wanted at Chelsea Football Club, seems to be getting closer and closer to becoming a Chelsea player. We'll be talking about Enzo Fernandez today and the news in and around him. We've got a little thread on Enzo Fernandez as well, which we'll be breaking down into more detail a little bit later in the show. We're going to start by talking about Graham Potter's press conference first. And some of his comments, some of the Chelsea fans slightly worried about some of the statements that he brought out himself as well. So we'll be talking about Graham Potter's and his comments in there as well. Rafael Leao is another one which we will be also highlighting and talking about in today's show as well. Mudryk as well from Shakhtar Donetsk. We know that he's supposedly linked to Arsenal, but Chelsea is apparently looking to hijack this deal. The transfer window is open. Lots is going to be happening in regards to Chelsea Football Club. We are here to discuss that, get involved with that as well. Back to normal on the shows as well. The transfer shows are back. We've got Ben Jacobs on the show tomorrow to discuss Enzo Fernandez and more in regards to Chelsea stuff in general. So make sure that you guys are going to hopefully be around for that. Over 150 of you guys here, 2 minutes in as well. Big up to every single one of you guys that are in the chat already as well. But please make sure that we're smashing them likes, guys. Let's get these likes up as quickly as we possibly can. And before we move forward, let's cue that intro. Yes, people, welcome back to GNA TV and Chelsea Fan TV. Hope you guys are well, wherever it is it may be. Again, Happy New Year to you guys. I hope that you have great success in the year coming. Also, very good health as well. And yeah, let's say hello to everyone in chat. Lots to get into. Chelsea are busy, not only just with transfer talks, but also on the pitch. And we know that they didn't have the greatest results gone against Forest, which we've not been able to talk about. We'll be back to match reaction shows. We've got a Man City game tomorrow, which I've not even been able to preview as well, because it's just so much to talk about. We'll try and talk about the Man City game later in the show as well. So it's going to be a long show. It's going to be a good, I'd say, probably 2 hours. We've got Carefree Lewis coming through as well, joining us a little bit later in the show as well. And we're going to be breaking down everything, going through everyone's comments in the chats as well. Let's see what everyone has been saying. Oh, Taiwo, nice to see you. Jeffrey, nice to see you. Ricky Ellis says he can't stop looking at Enzo news. You know how I feel about Enzo. Everyone knows how I feel about Enzo to Chelsea. It's just the one thing that I was wanting before we was even linked to him. And now we're linked to Enzo Fernandez. It's yeah, it makes me excited. And we're going to talk about that. Chelsea OG, nice to see you, brother. Leo, nice to see you. Matt Smith is in the house. He says, let's hit them likes. Let's run them likes up. Please, let's do that, guys, if you can. Matty K in the building says, Enzo, big up to you. Paul's up. Nice to see you as well. We've got Shan, we've got Daniel, we've got Jordan, we've got Steve in the house as well. Nice to see you, Steve. Devin is in the house as well. Happy New Year to you. Joey, big up to you. Bless. Happy New Year. Jamar, Ashraf as well. He says, Enzo's a done deal. It just takes time as it's a record deal, of course. And we're going to talk about that because, you know, some people, from what we've read online on Twitter, there's a lot of delays in, is it done, is it not? Fabrizio Romano maybe sitting on the fence to a degree. Ornstein's come out and made it clear that he don't think it's fully done in himself yet. He still feels that there could be potential for Chelsea to look elsewhere from him. Other, let's say, not known, but people that are maybe slightly lower in terms of their, their names seem to feel that it has been done as well. And I've been speaking to certain individuals on Twitter as well in regards to Enzo. We're going to be reviewing their comments as well a bit later in the show. Galib, big up to you, man. Nice to see you in the house. Jacob J. Moore, Top Bins is in the building. Catman, Undertaker, CFC, CFCP, S Lord. Nice to see you. Hazy. Big up to you, man. Big up to you, HR1405, Liam Lane. There's everyone. Everyone's here. There's over 160 of you here already as well. Big up to you. Vic is in the house. Man, it feels like it's been a long time. Does it? Feels like it's been a long time. It feels good. It feels good to be back, man. It feels good to be back and talking to you guys and going through things again, as always. Chelsea Australia, big up to you. Says Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you. Timberg, we're getting there. I'm getting there. But you know what I'm like? I have to say hello to everyone before we get into things. Big up to Nianxio as well. Nomadic says, look who's back. I am back. In need of a haircut, but yeah, I'm back. I'm back in town. Henrik, nice to see you. Emmanuel, Ryan, big up to you from the States as well. Nice to see you in the house. Can we get a happy birthday to my son, Harry? Harry, happy birthday to you and to many more birthdays as well. I hope you have a great day, wherever it is that you may be doing as well. And yeah, have fun, enjoy. I hope you get spoiled, lots of presents as well. And yeah, happy birthday. Big up to Lols as well on that one. Nihan says, is there any update on the Mykalo Mudryk? I can't even say his name properly. Mudryk. There is. We're going to talk about that. We're going to get into him as well. Chelsea need to win for themselves, not Arsenal. They will want Chelsea win, but Chelsea can surprise us at times. Got a big game tomorrow. Hard game. A game that many Chelsea fans feel, many Chelsea fans feel that we may lose as well. And I don't blame them for feeling like that. No worries as well. Big up to Daniel Knight, Chase Simpson. Who would suit us better, Leao or Mudryk? Well, the issue you got here, again, I think is price tag, because we're being told that Shakhtar Donetsk want in and around over 80 million from what I've just read recent reports for the player. We know that Arsenal are linked to the player, and it's forever growing that they're going to kind of get this done. However, Chelsea on the sidelines looking in and thinking, do you know what? You guys slip up, here we are. And how true it is, we're meant to be having meetings with the agent himself tomorrow for the Man City game. So lots to be aware of as well. Well, with Enzo Fernandez, we're going to talk about what we know up to now as well. Big up to Corey as well. Is Enzo Fernandez actually coming? Well, it depends what you believe in it and how and what you're reading. But at the moment, the positives are, to cut it short before we talk about it a bit later, he's already wants Chelsea. He wants to play for Chelsea. He's made it very clear to Benfica that he doesn't want to play anymore. There was apparently a little bit of a scuffle between the player himself, Enzo Fernandez, and the manager as well, something to do with him returning back late as well. Obviously, I mean, how can you blame him? Just won the world, on the back of a World Cup. He deserves to have that break. But anyway, the only real delay in all of this, and we have to understand this, is that he is a world record signing. And for a world record signing, as big as the figure is itself, then the plan of the structure of the actual payments for the player have to be right and have to be spot on. And that will take long, because Benfica are going to want to make sure themselves that they set up the best package possible as well. But there's also about 30 odd million that's going to be sent off to his former team prior to Benfica as well. So there's lots that these things take time. People need to understand that these kind of transfers, especially these type of transfers, as big as they are, they need a bit of time. I think it's to the point where the yes is probably there and been done. So there's no talks about the yes in between the clubs. I think it's more breaking down the agent fees and the structural side of Enzo Fernandez and the deal to him and Chelsea. That's what I think from what I've read up to this point. And they can't announce anything or confirm done deal or anything like that until the structure is formally set out, right? So these are the things that we have to be patient for at the moment. Yes, we're 10th. We are 10th, unfortunately. We are 10th. But anyway, before we get into Enzo Fernandez and others, I want to quickly talk about Graham Potter and his comments in regards to Chelsea Football Club. But before we do that, what do you guys think about... I've got so many tabs open again. What do you think about the new kit that has been leaked for Chelsea for next season? It's mint. That's the colour of it. It's mint. Mint and black. First time I've ever seen Chelsea wear mint, if I'm right in saying, on a kit. Give me your votes out of 10. Is it a 1? Is it a 10? What is it that you would rate this? My opinion, not a massive fan of the mint color itself. I don't mind the whole mix with the black. I would probably say a 6, in my opinion. However, it doesn't actually, for me, it doesn't make me excited to look at it, to be honest. But yeah, yeah, it's mid for me. I'd say a 6. So we've got a 6, a 1, a 4, a 8, a 4, a 5. Everyone's flying in with their comments. 5, 7. Would you buy this kit, guys? Because to buy this kit, it's going to cost you a good over £100, especially if you want to get the vapor signs on it and stuff like that. So, are you going to spend that kind of money for this? Would be the question mark here. 6, 5, 2, 9.5 out of 20, 5, 3. So I feel like everyone's sort of stuck in the middle of it, really. 8, 3, as well. I mean, yeah, I'm not overly sold in it, to be honest, as well. But it is what it is. You either like them or you hate it. At the end of the day, it's still Chelsea. It's a Chelsea shirt. I'm sure many will still end up buying it. I'll probably visually see the colour and look at it and be like, oh, it's actually quite nice, and add it to my collection behind me. But we'll see. We'll see later on. Yeah, what's going on here? Everyone's arguing in the chat. It seems like we've got a troll in the chat. Who's the troll? Who's the troll? Listen, guys, over 205, nearly 220 of you guys here. Big up to every single one of you guys that are here. Make sure we're smashing the likes as always. Let's get them likes up. It helps the channel. It helps us grow as well. And if you're new, please subscribe, because we're going to be doing a lot of transfer news shows for you guys, along with match reactions and discussions in and around Chelsea Football Club, as we always do. But let's go to the Graham Potter comments for the game, because we have got a big game tomorrow across all of the transfers that are going on. Some people are not very happy with Graham Potter's comments today in regards to where Chelsea are at as a football club. Now, we beat Bournemouth. Obviously, people wasn't aware or haven't been aware of my thoughts on that. I'll give you a quick what I think. I thought we played quite well. I think the way that we set up, the way we moved the ball, it looked good. At the same time, as I said on Twitter, they ain't that good, and we will have harder challenges. So it was about how consistent can we be. And I keep stressing the consistency of these players. How consistent can these players be in what's required from them? And they come up against Nottingham Forest. They start off okay. I'd say quite well. They get the lead, but they don't kill the game off. And they kind of just allowed Nottingham Forest to get back in the game. And the fight, the mentality, the bottle, what we're used to seeing and have been seeing for many years, many seasons, I would say, is still there. And it comes to the point where you can keep questioning the manager, decisions on lineups, late subs, whatever. But it gets to the point after a while where you look at it and you go, what more? What more are we going to keep saying manager, manager, manager? Let's stop looking at that and look at the players. And when you look at the performance of the second half, it wasn't good enough. And Nottingham Forest got their goal and we got punished. But it's ultimately the same thing. And I've told you guys, even when Tuchel got sacked, do not expect results to change, because they're not going to happen. It does not happen overnight. It's not going to happen with this crop of players that we have. It's not going to happen. And as Chelsea fans, we have to show a bit of patience. We ain't where we want to be. We're not that football club that we thought we were 10 seasons ago, competing for things. We're not that at the moment. We can be that. We can be that with time. But we've got to trust what the board are trying to do, and we've got to trust what Potter's going to try and do moving forward. However, he will have to win games, because winning games is important. It doesn't matter where you're at or what football club you're at. So let's talk about his comments, because we have one here that he basically says, I wouldn't say Man City clash can be used as a kickstart, as we've played only 15. Such a lot happened in those 15, and I've been here only 4 months, and it feels longer if I'm honest. It's a season. Oh, right. It's still live. Lewis still live. Yeah, Lewis is just finishing off his side of things, and then he's coming on. I wouldn't say Man City clash can be used as a kickstart, blah, 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 blah. So it feels longer than so it's a season that's obviously unique, is what he's saying. So look, a lot's happened since Potter's took over in a short space of time. We've had a World Cup as well in between all of that, which maybe some people would look as a blessing. But going into this next part, we know that the performances and what's required is going to have to be better. You know, I expected 6 points from the game against Forest and Forest and Bournemouth. We got 4. We haven't lost, but we've got City next. We've got City twice. And these are big games. These are games where they're going to have to step up, because playing like they did against Nottingham Forest, against Man City, we only know what's going to happen and the outcome of what's going to happen. But Graham Potter's got to get it right. And will he stick to the 4? Will he stick to the 4 at the back? We'll have to wait and see. He goes on to say that Graham Potter says, as much as we want to win, and I don't want to sound like it's acceptable to lose, it's not. But unfortunately, part of the game is dropping points. Is not succeeding. You've got to suffer and get better. So I get the whole thing of what he's saying in terms of suffering to get better. Listen, I, as a Chelsea fan, understand that we're in a transition. We need a bit of time to get where we need to be. We already know that there's gaping areas in our team that need to be improved anyway. So the inconsistency of the performances doesn't shock me. Us drawing the other day doesn't shock me. I don't trust these players. I do not trust these crop of players, and I've said it for a long time, and I've been consistent when it comes to what I feel is the issue at Chelsea Football Club. I've always said that we lack depth. We lack the quality of depth. The players that come in for players that get injured are just not there. They're just not at the level. They may be half decent one game, and the second game they let us down. And that's part of the issue. And you've got to bear in mind, he's inherited a squad from Tuchel. And when you look at the way they were playing on for Tuchel at the beginning of the season, part of the reason why he didn't get sacked, he got sacked by the board. You know, it was the same things. Yeah, Tuchel got a bit more consistency out of them sooner, but they still ultimately ended up doing the same thing and having the same issues. And it was just the lack of quality in the squad. The only thing that I kind of look at this and think, well, is a little bit wrong, is the thing where he goes on about, you know, but unfortunately part of the game is dropping points. We're Chelsea Football Club. We're not Brighton. So your mindset needs to step up. You can't sit there and just keep going, well, you know what, we have to accept that we're going to lose points, is that and the other. Losing too many points means that you miss Champions League, Mr. Potter. You know, there has to be more winning at Chelsea. When Chelsea were elite, when Chelsea were very good, we used to lose 1 or 2 games, draw a couple, but win like ultimately 3/4 of our games, which led us to challenging for titles or finishing second or third. That was ultimately the difference between the Chelseas of old and what we see now. You know, the mindset of what we need to do moving forward should always be that we need to win and we need maximum points. Losing isn't a good thing, but we will lose points and we will lose games. But the difference is not letting it set or not making it a thing of, well, we're going to lose points, guys. That's the kind of taking the back off, you know, like sitting back and saying, you know, I can kind of accept it as a manager. And that's a problem because that rubs up against the squad. And once the squad sees a manager that's kind of accepting us losing and not maybe playing as well, and we're not got that pressure, that then becomes a problem. So I think Potter in himself has to be careful with the way that he expresses expresses himself. He has to be a little bit more harder, I feel, especially in interviews, because that comment there, as much as it makes sense, at the same time, saying that it's a part of the game, dropping points, it is a part of the game, and I get that, but not in the way that we're dropping points. We shouldn't be losing 4 games in a row and that be acceptable. You know, so I'm pretty sure he's clued up. I'm pretty sure he knows this, but he needs to, he needs to start kicking on. It goes on to also say that when I think back to how I got to this point, a lot of the things are the setbacks and the moments of struggle. So it's not thinking of it's a kickstart. We focus on the next match, try to improve and try to get better. But that's the issue with Chelsea. And it's not even just Graham Potter's issue. It's Thomas Tuchel's issue. It was Frank Lampard's issue. It was predominantly started from when Maurizio Sarri was at Chelsea. These players struggle to improve. We need to see progression as we go along. And once he starts given players like the Enzo Fernandez, like the potentials of others that we've been linked to as well, and it improves the squad and enhances our opportunities to close the gap, we need to start winning games more consistently. We can't be losing games. We can't even be drawing games to a degree in the ways that we have been doing. You know, he will have to, he'll have to kick on and improve himself and get the best. However, what I would like to see him do, and we have seen in the last 2 games, is that he's being more consistent with his lineups. And if he wants the back 4 and that's what he thinks he wants to do, then stick to it. Play it. Ultimately, we're going to lose a couple games here and there, but then your argument is the players, because you're playing what you want to play, and they're very good one game, and the next minute they're not. It's the same issues that we've seen, guys. That in itself is going to take time, and there's not much that us as Chelsea fans can do. It's not much us as Chelsea fans can do at this point, other than not accept that we're going to lose games, but kind of understand where we are as a football club. You know. However, his mindset can't be that losing games is acceptable, or it's a part of the game. Yeah, it is a part of the game, but being the manager at Brighton and being the manager at Chelsea is 2 different things. And when Chelsea were successful 10 years ago, a lot, under the elite teams that they had and managers that they had, they never, ever, ever, lost accumulation of games like we have done of recent 4 in a row. We used to use 2 games in a season and draw a couple and win 3/4 of our games, which then led us to winning titles or challenging for titles. That's where we need to get to. That's not where we are now. Where we need to get to. But his mindset has to be of that. He has to have that mentality as a manager himself moving forward. Because if he doesn't, and he sits back like he has in this comment above and says, well, unfortunately, losing, dropping points is a part of the game. So, you've got to suffer to get better, which, yeah, fine. It's kind of what I'm saying is, if you're a footballer and you're playing for that type of manager, you lose games. Lewis will know. We've seen it before. We've heard and seen this before. When Chelsea used to lose games under Mourinho, can you imagine Mourinho going, "Don't worry about it, man. It is what it is." He would slaughter them in the dressing rooms, especially if they played like they did against Nottingham Forest in the second half. Do you think he would sit back and go, "It's part of the game, guys. Don't worry about it. We'll go into the next game"? No, he wouldn't. And if that's the mentality that Potter's going to have going into the losses, that's a problem for me.
I agree with all of that. My only thing is, like, I don't want to hear this shit in press conferences. Like, have that belief if you want. Like, I have zero faith against anybody that we face, but I don't want to hear that from the manager. Even when we were crap under Tuchel, he made you feel a little bit more motivated for games. Same thing with Lampard. Potter's not doing that, and I'm not going to judge him early because of it. I feel like a lot of people have already decided where they stand with Graham Potter, and quotes like this really don't help. But I'm not going to change my mindset on him just based off stuff like this.
No,
I need him to be a lot more confident. Well, at least come off as a bit more confident in press conferences.
Well, let me just wish you a happy new year, because I haven't seen you in a while anyway.
Oh, yeah, happy new year, bro. Hope everything's been good.
I'm back to the hype of Chelsea Football Clubs, the ups and downs.
And back to the chaos.
Back to the chaos. Over 500 people here. Big up to every single one of you guys that are currently tuned in at the moment.
Get the likes.
Like that. I know you have come from Lewis's channel as well, so big up to every single one of you guys that have come over here. Yeah, I agree with you, Lewis. I don't change my mindset on Potter. It's not a thing of like, I don't think he can do the job. I still think it's very early. There is a lot of Potter outers on Twitter, by the way, already, as we already know. But they've always been very rational. I think in any manager or any player, there's always a couple of fans that are very rational in that instance. But I just think he has to be a little bit careful with the way that he, like you said, comes, puts himself across to the media. That's all. And I don't think that he's used to this much exposure, if that makes sense, in terms of the club that he's representing, the questions that are going to be fired at him more relentlessly, the pressure that's going to build up for being at a club like Chelsea. These are things that I think that he's just not used to. And sometimes I think he can just be a little too honest, if that makes sense. I don't know.
He needs to be a bit more ruthless. And the thing is, I've seen some ruthless quotes from him as well. It's like, cool, we're starting to see that spine show out a little bit. But still, then you get quotes like this. And I get, like, it's only just like a little bite of it. Maybe if you watch the whole presser, it doesn't really sound as bad. But you have to be very careful with the way you speak. The press room is its own game. That's its own football pitch.
Yeah,
and there's managers that can dominate it, like the likes of Mourinho. Lampard, to be fair, always mastered the press conference. Even when we were terrible and I had no faith, I'd come out of Lampard presses thinking, you know what, we might have a chance. Potter, I don't feel that. It's the first manager where I don't, and to be fair, I have no faith in the squad anyway. So to a point, I understand it, but I don't want to hear it from my manager.
100%.
You got to make me have some confidence.
He has to, and at the same time, he has to get results because you can't go on continuously, being inconsistent, not winning games, winning one, then drawing one, then losing one. It has to be, with Chelsea, it's always been sort of a little blip, and then we kind of bounce back and we start winning games again, and that then accumulates us to being able to play in the Champions League because we have some little bit of form throughout a season, which helps us, right? I don't feel we've had that this season yet. I just feel we're so up and down and we don't know whether we're coming or going or what's going to happen next game. Are we going to get the same performances we did against Bournemouth, against Forest? No, we didn't. We got the complete opposite, which again doesn't shock me because we've seen it so many times. This is why I keep telling people when people go mad on Twitter about what they're seeing and they're pulling their hair out. And, oh my God, I can't believe we just played like that. I say, are you not used to it? Are you not used to that type of performance as a fan? Because it is more than the managers. It 100% is more than just Graham Potter for me and the substitutions and lineups. These players, and I've said it for a very long time, since Maurizio Sarri to this point, are just big letdowns and they lack consistency in themselves. They struggle to be consistent in the systems that the managers ask them to play. Sometimes I don't understand what they do in training, Lewis. And now you was at the Forest game. You went Forest, right? Yeah?
Yeah.
You was there, right? I was in Dubai watching it on the TV. I ended up turning it off in the second half, halfway through, because it was just I could just see where it was going.
Good move.
I knew what was going to happen. I knew we weren't this. I could just feel it, I could feel something wasn't right. But you being at the game and watching that second half specifically, it's not a shock, is it? Like in terms of what we've seen in the past with these players.
It's the same as the Bournemouth game. It's just Bournemouth didn't make us pay for it. 30-minute FC, as soon as we get to the 30-minute mark, we take our foot off the gas and we're shit. The difference is Bournemouth were just as bad. They had zero end product. They didn't capitalize on it. Forest, they did. And Forest just ran through us. And also is that right-hand side, Koulibaly and Azpilicueta. It was too easy. It was way too easy for them. Azpi cannot be starting anymore for us. I love Azpi, but that's it. It's done.
Yeah, but this is the problem, right? Who? Look at the depth. Like, who is it that we're going to bring in to, like, I get why Azpi plays.
Well, I said we needed a right back in by the City game. And to be honest, I would rather we put Chalobah on the right. Even if we haven't got any offensive thing from him, we will be more defensively solid as a result.
Chalobah is one that I think we should try at right back. I don't get why we just don't try it. What's the problem? Like, he can go forward better. He can defend better. In my opinion, he's a lot younger. He's got speed. Like, I would go for him as well. I mean, Potter goes on to say, we have to play it well ourselves. That is the key. Then you have to understand the quality they have and try and stop it. It sounds simple when you condense it down, but the reality isn't so straightforward. Now, just quickly on the City game before we go into
that's not as bad.
Go into the transfer. We've got Josh in as well because we haven't seen him in a while. Actually, to be fair.
How you doing, bro?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, guys.
Just to quickly formalise this before we get on to transfer talk. I mean, Lewis, how confident are you going into tomorrow's game against Man City? Obviously, they're on the back of trying to win a title and chasing Arsenal down. Is there any hope for Chelsea in this game?
No chance. Like, the only way we have a chance is if we literally sit everyone behind the ball and we bag a penalty. That's it. Other than that, we're getting battered. Our attack doesn't make anything. Our midfield, whatever midfield we put in, is getting toyed about by Man City's midfield. The defense, it just depends on how we set. If I see Azpi, I just give up anyway. But I've already given up.
He's going to play.
Where would we get even a draw from, let alone a win? I don't see it. Because we don't even sit back and defend.
Kai Havertz, click.
Wait, who's putting the ball in?
That's a good one, yeah. Sterling, maybe? If we...
I mean, maybe if we catch him on transition, maybe. Because to be fair, Havertz does well with a high line. Maybe that could work. But I don't think it's happening. I think we're getting battered.
But we've got them twice. We've got them back-to-back twice, right? Our next two games are City and City, right?
City, Palace, Liverpool.
Isn't Fulham in between the City games?
Fulham as well.
It's City, Fulham, City, I think.
No, City, Fulham, Palace, Liverpool.
Okay.
And Fulham are actually playing quite well. They've got no Mitrovic, by the way. He's banned for the game against Chelsea. So
Nice,
they got a decent winger too.
They have very good wingers. I mean,
if Willian scores, I'm gonna walk out the ground, right down.
Josh, before we get on to the transfer talk, welcome back. Nice to see you here. What's your thoughts on Potter's? I don't know if you've seen it, but Potter's comments on the game tomorrow. And are you worried about him himself as the manager at Chelsea, or again, do you think it's a bit of the players again just being the players?
I've spoken about this before. I have a lot of concerns with Graham Potter. A lot of concerns. This being one of them. I think Lewis mentioned it earlier. Like, I don't mind if he thinks that way. You can never say that out loud, because guess what? It's not just those reporters in the room that are hearing this conversation. The players, so now you've got a group of players who are already like struggling for form, struggling for some idea of what they want to do on the pitch. And now they just heard their manager say like, yeah, we're probably going to lose a bunch of games, man. Like, I don't have any faith in these guys. I'm feeling a lot of losses coming in the next 6 months. So that doesn't bode well for the dressing room, in my opinion. He said some stuff the other day that I thought was really dumb too, about when he was saying, he was trying to defend himself. He was like, "Oh, well, people say, well, I've also maybe done some good things." And it's like, come on, dude. You're like, even like your best achievement is taking like a crappy team to like 8th or 9th. Like, you say what you will about Brighton, like it's still a mid-table team. Like it's not like he brought this team into like the glory days or something like that, but I have a lot of issues with what I've seen on the pitch. I still don't think the players have any idea what they're being asked to do out there. The last game, you got Mount and Ka just sitting on top of each other in each other's areas all game. Like, if we don't have Reece James, we have absolutely no creative outlets whatsoever. Like, I'll give him the only benefit of doubt that I give him is like maybe 4 of our best players are injured, and he hasn't had those guys for the majority of his time there. Like, I'll give him a little bit of leeway on that. He can't do much about that. But what I haven't seen, and I also said this, I wouldn't care if we were bad if I saw a consistent style of play on the pitch. If it looked like if we were trying to do something, and it's just like, you know what, this group of players just can't do it yet, but I can see what we're trying to do, I'd feel much better about it. But I don't even see that.
Does he need more time for that, though? When we say we're not seeing what he's doing and what he's trying to do, we said the same thing about. Wait a sec. We said the same thing about Thomas Tuchel when he was there, and we were like, well, we need to see what he wants to do. Like, does it come to a point where is it just the crop, like, and what
the
what
players?
I mean, you could like do it. And that sounds stupid. I don't think they can do it as a core. I'm not saying they're not individually, but as a core, I don't think they can do it as a group. Like, it's weird.
I said it with Tuchel. These players weren't good enough for top 4. So even with Potter, I ain't gonna judge it. From what I've seen, even Bowley and the ownership understands that this squad just has zero cohesion, and we have to just rip this season up, start again in the summer. We're treating January like a summer window. Hopefully, we treat the summer window like another summer window, because there'll be 2 big windows with a lot of ingoings and hopefully a lot of outgoings as well. We will have a completely different squad, and that will be where I'll start to have confidence that we can at least get back into the top 4 next season. This season is a write-off. I don't rate like 80% of this squad. I need a lot of them gone, but they're not going to be gone. So Lewis, why am I going to think we can make top 4? No,
is he in trouble as a manager if he finishes 8th or 9th?
No, it could be worse.
No.
If Palace beats Spurs,
do you think the owners will accept that? Do you think they'll go, we'll let him?
As long as we don't get relegated, I don't think they care this season. This season is a write-off. It's been a write-off.
And I'll disagree with Lewis a little bit on that. I think they made him feel comfortable. Like, hey, you're not like we're not going to just sack you right away, right? But I also think they were anticipating him change. Like, so say what you want about Tuchel. When he came into the squad or to the team, we changed formations, we changed the style of play, we looked more bright, we put together some win. Like, there was like a clear shift from Lampard's football to Tuchel's football. Here, there doesn't seem to have been much of any shift. In fact, a bit of a regression, in my opinion, in the football. I don't think they were anticipating that aspect of this. So I don't think his leash is as long as some people may think. If we continue to drop points, if we continue to drop position in the table, if it looks like, okay, top 4 is certainly out of the question, which I tend to think with Lewis right now that it is. But now it's not looking like Europa League is a question. Conference League is out of the question. I don't know how, I think the club is anticipating being in the Champions League next year. I think they're spending all this money. They're buying these players. I think there is an anticipation that those players will be playing in the Champions League next year.
Next season.
Yeah.
So I
honestly think, I think Todd Bowley I think they're expecting a top 4 finish. I don't think they're going to get that. Yeah, absolutely. That's why I think the language coming out of the club over the last couple of weeks has shifted quite a bit from this guy's job is untouchable. He was been given a vote of confidence to, well, they're not going to just let him lose out the season. Like they're expecting something. They're expecting a little bit of a return here. We're investing a lot of money to bring you new players. I anticipate some wins.
And it's also the availability of other managers that are starting to come in as well,
Right.
So I would look. I think.
But then why do you have someone on a 6-year deal?
But that's Well,
I said.
At any point this season, I lose all faith in the board. I lose all faith in the owner. Because how do you get rid of probably our best manager since Jose Mourinho, only to not even give his replacement enough time to make a new squad?
I don't think it's a thing of that you don't get Champions League. I think they will allow him this season. I do. I think I agree with Lewis to a degree.
But then that matters at any cost. As long as we go down, that doesn't matter. It's about next season.
Yes, but however, there's still a knock-on effect with us not getting Champions League this season. And the knock-on effect is the progression of the squad and the players that we can specifically maybe attract as well. Because without Champions League football, do we get maybe a Leao, for example?
Yeah.
I'm not so sure.
Which is why I think you're seeing the push now to get as many good players in January as they can, because it's it's going to be harder to recruit this summer.
That's what I was about to say. So you what I was about to say. I think this January window could be quite a big January window, and why you're seeing Chelsea running around 120 million Enzo Fernandez is because I think they're actually thinking, no, we need to try and push it. We need to get back in this. Let's try and get some of our supposed summer targets in for the January window. And I think we could actually have quite a big January window. I think we'd be shocked.
Definitely.
I think that's one of the reasons you're seeing this push for Mudryk now is because the club's saying okay, well, we could get this guy in January for say 80 million, which is what we would be willing to spend on Leao, but he's not coming in January. And so if we wait till the summer on Leao, there's a good chance that he might just say, okay, well, I want to play in the Champions League. And now you don't really have a shot at him or Mudryk. So I think they're trying to look at what's the quick option that we can get a really good player, in my opinion. I like Mudryk a lot. He does. He gives us something we don't have. Let's take a shot at getting him in and guaranteeing he's in the team, as opposed to maybe taking a more of a gamble on Leao in the summer. Now, I love Leao. I'd prefer to have him, but I think there's a real possibility that we're not going to be in a position.
There has to be it's not FIFA as well, to a degree. I think we need to get. We can't buy 70 million Leao, 120 million, 70 million Rice. Do you know what I mean? We can't.
Yeah, we're not getting rid of 8, 9, 10 players either. So
no, and on top of that, we're forgetting how many young players have we signed for 20 mil each time? 20 mil. What we do with Detra Fofana?
They're all investment signings, and this is again why I think all these movements is not to try and get us top 4 next season. Well, obviously we're still going to try push for it, but I don't think that's the main aim. It's about the next 2-3 years more than it is just about this season.
And this is going to. I don't want to get too technical with all the business side of it, but part of the reason why you're seeing a lot of players being given 6-year contracts is part of the FFP. Is because they can also spread the payments across a lot more. So even if we spend 120 million on Enzo, which we're going to talk about in a bit, Chelsea won't be proportionately paying big lump sums off that straight away. That is going to be spread over a course of a period. So, it's what I'm saying is I get the 6-year contracts in terms of the FFP side of things and why they offer long terms. However, it could have a knock-on effect if the player comes and it doesn't work, and then you've got this player on that's got a long-term contract. etc., etc.
Right.
But these are things that we'll have to look at a later stage. We're going to get into transfer talk. There's over 700 people here. Big up to every single one of you guys that are tuned in as well. We are going to talk Enzo Fernandez in a bit, guys. I know some people will keep asking about Enzo Fernandez as well. But I just want to get your thoughts, guys, on the comments in regards to like Jorginho and the potentials of him going to Napoli. But at the same time, N'Golo Kante's renewal talks, because we've also heard from Simon Phillips recently saying that sources have told that here they're expecting him to extend and is close to reaching an agreement with Chelsea as well to stay. So it looks like there's more being done for Kante than maybe there is for a Jorginho to potentially stay at the club. I mean, Lewis, do you keep? Is it important that we keep either or would you get rid of both, or like, is there a preference? What's your thoughts on this?
I'm fine with both leaving. I think both shouldn't be starting for us from next season, and we need to move on from the pair. I wouldn't mind either being a rotation option, but to me, Kante has to lower his pay his pay to be a rotation option because he's one of our highest earners right now. Jorginho doesn't necessarily need to. That's why I feel like it would be a bit easier on that front, but whichever one you keep, whichever one you let go, I don't really mind. They just can't be starting for us next season. We need to move on from Jorginho, and we need a complete revamp of the midfield. N'Golo Kante is not fit enough for us to be starting week in and week out. I think as a rotation option, unbelievable depth. But I don't know. Would he be willing to take that? Have to wait and see. The only thing I've heard on N'Golo Kante is that he rejected a 2-year contract because the terms weren't really that favourable to him, which makes me think it's more about the wage that's an issue with him. That wage has to go down because that's a starter wage. That's one of your regular starters, key players. That's the money you give them. I don't think N'Golo's at that level anymore because he can't stay fit. So
do you think also that's
a question mark to me.
Do you think that's also why we're pushing so hard for Enzo as well, with these two maybe potentially up in the air, not being here in the summer? It's like, we need someone now? Like, we need to get someone
in spite of that, like, we need about 2-3 midfielders anyway, because we need a complete revamp. Like Jorginho, Kante, you could re-sign the pair of them. They should not be starting next season. They should be rotation options. We need Enzo. We need a sitter behind that. Maybe you have Kovacic next to them. Maybe you get another midfielder because he's not that available either. I don't know. I don't mind. But the number one thing we need to go into next season with is a solid midfield, because we've lacked that for ages.
I agree. And again, solving one midfielder in this squad doesn't solve everything for us. I'll tell you that now. It will improve us, but we will still have our teething issues in other areas until we improve them. And I'm talking about right backs and forwards and others, which we'll get into as well. I mean, Josh, quickly, what's your thoughts on this as well, mate? Do you think, it's good Kante staying, Jorginho maybe going, or how do you feel about it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously I love N'Golo Kante. Yeah, I think the club wants to keep one of them. I think they made them both probably similar offers, and we're going to be willing to take, I think, either one of them. It sounds like Jorginho might be wanting to negotiate a bit more. Maybe he wants more money. I don't know. Maybe he wants more years. I don't really know the details of what his holdup would be. I think what Lewis said, yes, obviously you want N'Golo to be available. That's obviously key. You need him healthy. I think when he's healthy, he offers more to the team than Jorginho does personally. I agree. Also, probably shouldn't be starting every game. The availability thing too, listen, Jorginho is available. I don't think it's always good that he's available because I think oftentimes in certain games he's a detriment. But yeah, for me, I don't really care. I think one of them will absolutely be here. I honestly at this point don't care which one it is. They both, like Lewis said, we need to re-up our midfield regardless. 2-3 players tops for me, midfielders if possible. Just to get fresh legs, new styles of play, new skill sets into that group, because right now it's very thin and it's not very talented. So yeah, I mean, I'm okay with either one. If one or the other is going to stay, I don't think both will stay.
Yeah.
And right now it looks like N'Golo's closer to being the one that stays. So for me, it's really there's so many issues in the team. It's like.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Maybe I've done the wrong thing there, but yeah, no, 100%. Look, I think I'll fly through. I mean, I think at the end of the day, whether we keep Kante or Jorginho, I think having one of them as rotation is very important anyway. So, I would look to try and keep either or moving forward. I agree with Lewis. If he's going to stay, Kante has to take a pay cut. He can't be taking over 200 and whatever K he's taking at the moment at this football club. So, at the end of the day, we'll have to see what Chelsea.
I do think we need to get one of them, though, because it is a much younger dressing room that we're going to have next season, and we do need a little bit of experience in there. One of Jorginho or Kante would do well for us.
None of them are real leaders to me. They have the experience, but they're not really this is part of the problem we have with the squad at the moment, right? We don't really have any bottle. We don't really have the mentality to get back into games when we're behind. Or
I don't know. I think Jorginho's a good leader. Kante's obviously a bit quiet, but we don't know what he's like in the dressing room.
He just goes, watch it. We don't really like.
But that's at least something. Like there's vocality and stuff. Like I don't know what he's saying and everything, but I look at him and I do see a leader in Jorginho.
I'll be honest,
Kante is a bit more of a question mark, but
I think our captain and our vice captain is the worst captains I've seen.
Yeah.
Compared to Terry Lampard, I ain't gonna say nothing. I ain't gonna say shit.
We have got an update on Mudryk, and we're going to go to that next, actually. One of the things that we're going to go into now is a player that Arsenal seem to be getting, or being told that we were going to get, and all of a sudden Chelsea have decided to knock on the door and maybe potentially cause a bit of a rift there in trying to persuade the player to come to the club. But Fabrizio Romano, as of recent, has just said that apparently Arsenal have to be fast with Mudryk. They have to reach an agreement with Shakhtar, otherwise Chelsea will push and try and enter this race in a serious way. We've been told tomorrow that at the Chelsea City game that the agent of the player is going to be there with Bowley and Egbali as well. So, a bit of...
Jem, I thought Mudryk only wanted to go to Arsenal, though, right?
Well, apparently not. This is.
I thought he was only convinced and only wanted. So this was my thing. Like, listen, some guys they only can dream so high, right? Like he was probably like thinking, my ceiling is a club like Arsenal. Like I just feel that's what I feel about myself. And then a big club like Chelsea comes in and says, well, hey, we love you in our project, and maybe that opens your eyes a bit, and you go, okay, well, wow, maybe my ceiling is a little bit higher than a club like Arsenal. I think if that was the case, that he only wanted to go to Arsenal, this was Rafinha 2.0. Then there's no point in negotiating, right?
Arsenal are never the ceiling, in my opinion. Yeah, they're having a good season. Give it to them. We can't knock them for what they're doing at the moment, and it hurts to say that because can't fucking stand them. But they're in a good place at the moment. They're doing good things under Arteta so far. But there's never a ceiling of Arsenal are that. For me. But look, at the end of the day, Chelsea are a project at the end of the day, in my opinion. And we, with the right players and the right players coming in, with the right manager as well, I think that you can see us slowly, competing with the cities again very quickly. It's just about getting that done. And this is why I think selling it to players like Mudryk as well, who maybe is turned a bit. All right, Chelsea not great this season, but look at it and going, well, the project looks good at Chelsea. What they're trying to do moving forward, the length of contracts, the idea of trying to get into the team as well and whatever. But the only thing I would say is like not having Champions League and Arsenal having Champions League, would that be an issue? I don't know. I mean, we've been in Champions League most seasons, but I don't know much about the player. I know he's a very quick, technically gifted player. I've watched bits of him, this, that, and the other. 80 million is apparently what it would be for him.
Yeah.
And you talk about Leao as well being a little bit more than that. I mean, if we really commit to this, Lewis, like this completely writes off Leao, doesn't it? Because with that kind of money, you could, and he hasn't signed an extension, Leao, by the way. He's not even agreed to go there as well. So there's a good chance that Chelsea could have maybe gone there January to try and have a word with him if they really wanted him.
Both sound very similar to me. Like physical wingers, very good at 1v1s, good finishers. Bit of a question mark on their creativity and their work rate. But Mudryk is a bit cheaper. And plus, it's something we can take the piss out of Arsenal about. And we don't really have a lot to this season.
Well, he's also available right now, right? Right, Lewis? So, like, he's actually available to buy in January. Leao is not available to buy. Yeah.
Like, Leao is still looking at, like, 100 mil, 150 mil. But they look very similar. So I think Mudryk is just a bit more of a question mark because he's in the Ukrainian league and people can pretend that they've watched him, but I bet like 1% of people watching have actually seen more than 3 games of him. Yeah, he looks good, from the limited footage that I've seen of him, won't lie, it is all just comps I've seen. But from that and the little research I've done, it looks very similar to Leao. So I'm fine with us getting either of them personally.
Where is Matt Law? Is he gone? Like, people were asking.
Ornstein is the new English bomb dropper. All right, that's who I listen to.
Oh yeah, and Ornstein ain't said nothing about this yet.
Well, but Matt Law has commented a minute ago for the first time, saying back from a break to write a piece about Chelsea transfers. Shock. Why the owners must not surprise their head coach again, and why strategy and sales are just as important as signings. So he's done a whole article on the Telegraph, which he's just brought out a minute ago. So he is back, Matt Law. He's back. So he was away like me. He was on his way. He was on a mini break, as they like to say. But yeah, look, again, Chelsea get this done, and he comes in January. They sign Enzo Fernandez. They've spent 200 million in January. Let's just say if we in hindsight we get this done, 200 million on a forward and a midfielder. I mean, we're going to talk about Enzo Fernandez in a bit. Is that a bit too much? On a serious level, is that something we should be a little bit like, well, what are we doing?
I've been questioning the price tag on a lot of transfers, but the players that we're looking at, they're young. They're not really at a level where we can judge their final form. From what I see, they look good already. They could be even better in the next 2 or 3 years. It's very risky, but this is where we can properly judge the way that we're analyzing new transfers, the sort of players that we're looking at, and we can understand whether we'd have a bit more faith in our transfer strategy in the next few years or not. Just have to see how the players perform. It's way too early to judge with them. And it's too early to judge with the new regime as well. So it's just a lot of question marks. The money doesn't look convincing, but the fact that they're even digging out their pockets that much, that's a bit of a positive to me. We're looking for younger players.
That's my problem with the fan base, though. It's the whole, I feel like with some, they just jump the gun too early, and even when it comes to the owners and to, you know what I mean? Though it's like it ain't gonna work. Why? It ain't.
Well, you got people talking about like a kid like Badiashile who's 21, saying like, "Oh, this guy's a bum. He reeks of Zuma." I'm like, Zuma's 28 years old, man. He's got 7 years on this kid. He's widely considered one of the best young French center backs in the world. He's actually had a pretty damn good season in Monaco. I don't know what people can watch a fail comp. You can also type in your favorite player's name and then type fail comp, and you can watch your favorite player have the same kind of 30-second highlight video. It's like, yeah, people are quick to jump to that. The age, it's tough because when you come to a club like Chelsea, the expectation is to deliver, right? But a lot of the guys that we're buying are young dudes. These guys are, 20, 21, 18 years old, So if anything about like where I've fallen more on prices is that like the price is the price. Someone's going to pay it, right? Yeah. I'd rather it be us, right? I mean, you can get into a price war, but some club is going to pay that, right?
It always seems to be more for Chelsea, though, doesn't it? It's like there's always an extra 20 mil on top of it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that does always seem to be the case, but we have it, which is nice, right? So it's like it's not like we had to take another loan out to make that to pay that, but
we're a debt-free club because of Roman Abramovich.
Yeah,
and people
absolutely. Which is why I don't even care about what we sell Lukaku for, because his purchase price has already been written off the books. So I don't care. Like they can sell him for whatever. It's profit to this ownership group.
He's more involved in doing documentaries anyway. By the looks of it, he's second in the Milan documentary coming out or something. Fucking joke.
Right. And as far as what Matt Law, sorry, Jim. As far as what Matt Law said about surprising the coach, I mean, we literally brought in almost his entire staff and technical staff. I doubt there'll be that kind of miscommunication with the guys that we brought in that Potter would somehow have no idea who we're going after. Like he clearly would be in the loop. And I love if I'll say anything about the stuff that happened, I do love what the technical staff is doing. I love all the young players that they brought in. I really like the profile, the style of player, the age bracket that these guys are in. I really love what they've done with the young kids that they brought in. I think they've hit 10 out of 10 on all these kids so far.
It's about these kids then be kicking on themselves, and I keep saying with these long-term contracts, there's incentives in the contracts to force them to try and eventually get into this first team. And if we can get a handful of them in, and they become of some serious value, and they light up the league, and we're benefiting from them. We've all of a sudden from 20 million got a player that's worth 80, 90 million on our books. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like I get the idea, and it's true what Lewis said. Like it is an invest. They are an investment, because if it doesn't work and they don't really break in, or they get given games and they're just not that type of player, we'll just sell them, and we still make decent money on them because they're still young. So it's definitely a good move from Todd Bowley and Clear Lake as well. Denison says Mudryk and Kunku Sterling. And let me just pronounce this because there's no mount in this. It says / Kai Havertz with Potter is fire, is what he's saying. Kai Havertz.
Period. Kai just put the flame out, but we move.
You just can't have Kai be. You can't have Kai being good for Chelsea, can you? You just can't.
I can if he was.
No, you
that's
wouldn't.
all I want. Just
if
play
he
well.
played well, you would moan about him. You just
no, he played well for 30 minutes against Bournemouth, and I praised him for it. It was nice. It would be nice if he did it for 90.
You didn't praise him. You didn't really praise him.
I did. Check my fan cam out. I said he played well for 30 minutes.
I mean, I'm going to just really say one thing on this real quickly, because it kind of bugs me a bit when we see these sort of like comments. And it's from DiMarzio, and he's sort of a big tier one, if you like to know, in Italy and that. But he says that Leao is close to signing a new deal, especially because Chelsea decided to invest in Enzo Fernandez instead of him. That is, I like, these are the things that annoy me with journalists when they just make a story. I know it's their job, but this is pure making a story up, in my opinion. What is Rafael Leao got to do with anything with Enzo Fernandez? Number one, they're not even in the same position. So why would he not want to play for Chelsea? They're not even in the same position. They don't even play in the same role as Chelsea. That make no sense. Do you know what I mean? Ultimately, Chelsea just need to show interest in him. And if it's not now in January, because I don't think Milan would let him go anyway. I'll be honest with you. He's not going in January. Forget it. He's a summer signing all day. Whether Chelsea have that conversation with him and say, look, if we don't get a forward, we'll look to have a chat in the summer and see what we can do and try and get you across. And that's fine. But to say, we get it because we're getting Enzo, we can't get Rafael Leao. I don't like that. It really winds me up when we do that.
It would make more sense if they talked about Mudryk, because if we got Mudryk, then I understand.
Yeah. Well, because to me, it's like, I think Chelsea clearly showed to Leao and to everybody that they're very interested in him. They may be disappointed that he's not been more receptive or pushed maybe a little harder, or because I think Chelsea were willing to spend 80 million on him. His buyout cost is like 180, 120, something like that. I think Chelsea were willing to spend 80 million on him, but at that point, you've got to, as a player, got to make a push. And if you're spending all your time talking over a renewal with AC Milan, and Chelsea are like, hey, we're over here, man. We're trying to pay you a shit ton of money and buy you over here, but you're still talking with Milan. Well, Chelsea might be like, all right, well, we'll take our 80 million and we'll go look at this other kid who we think we can get in January. So I don't think they're uninterested in him, and I don't think they've shown any uninterest in him. They just maybe they want a little bit more out of his end as far as trying to make this happen. Like, it is the longer he goes without signing, the better, obviously, the chances are that you could get him in the summer. But
also for him, because him not signing and having only 1 year left on his contract from the summer allows him to get more interest from other clubs. And it's not just Chelsea. He will get European clubs knocking on the door for him. He's a top player. I want him at Chelsea. He's the profile of player I think we do need. Don't get me wrong. And the creative and the ability to be able to take players on and, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I want the guy. Don't get me wrong. Big up to my guy Alex. This is Run Up the Lights.
Big up,
People,
Alex.
720 of you here as well. Big up to every single one. You guys are still in Unlocked. And we are talking Enzo Fernandez soon as well. We've got a little thread on Enzo Fernandez as well, talking about his abilities, his strengths, his all of it, his weaknesses. We're going to go through all of that as well at some point. That's how negotiations works. You expect Leao not to look after his own interests. Well, of course he's going to look after his own interests, and that's why he hasn't signed a contract, Nomadic. Like, he's, it makes a lot of sense. Do you even know about the future Yaya Toure called Kone from Mönchengladbach? Perfect, strong built DM. I don't.
Yeah, apparently we're linked with him as well. He looks decent.
I like him a lot.
Decent.
He'd be a really good, his style of play would be a great compliment to like an Enzo Fernandez and the Enzo style of play. Like, it's a really nice compliment.
we spent 120, 30 mil on Enzo Fernandez, right? This just looks like it's going to happen. We're going to get to in a second. But what we know, we need another defender, another midfielder. So could we see Chelsea looking to buy someone at the lower end of the skeptical, and not being a Declan Rice for 80 million, it being a Kone, for example, or someone else of maybe not the highest value in the midfield to improve us?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they'll look for maybe a cheaper option. Like what I read about Kone is it sounds more like he's probably going to be a summer move, just because the way Gladbach would like to keep him until the summer, and then maybe his price might go up for them in the summer. But I do think absolutely that they'll try to look to maybe bring in an additional midfielder on maybe a cheaper fee. Maybe it's tough to say because we haven't been linked with a ton of names aside from Enzo right now, but at least that I've read. But it's possible. I mean, I think they see it as a big concern. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if they're talking about it.
Well, we're going to talk about the midfield very shortly. It's something that I really want to get into in a second, but just really because I haven't been around and I've been away and I've not been able to highlight these some of the things that's happened while Chelsea have been away. Badiashile has completed his medical at Chelsea. He is at Chelsea at the age of 21 years old, where he signed a 6.5-year contract as well. I've not watched a lot of him. I've watched bits of him. Looks quite solid. Again, I asked Josh this. Is he a player that just gives us depth, or is he a player that you think is coming in to potentially, start at Chelsea Football Club? Do you think he has the abilities to do that?
I mean, that's tough to say. I don't think they're going to be sending him on any kind of loan when he comes in. So he'll be here, which means he'll probably get some games. It sounds like we're going to probably stay in a back four. So maybe he plays with Koulibaly. Maybe he plays with Fofana in some games. I don't think he'll come in and be like a starter right away, obviously, because I think Koulibaly and Thiago Silva, and then probably Thiago Silva and Fofana, once he's healthy, will be in those starting roles. But I definitely think he'll play some. I haven't heard a single word about him going on loan or anything like that. So, I mean, I really like him. I've watched Monaco a handful of times this year. We sent Malang Sarr there. Malang Sarr doesn't play because of Badiashile. Badiashile kept him on the bench. So I think if people are like worried about that kind of comparison, he's clearly better than Malang Sarr. But he's 21 years old, like you said, so I don't expect him to come in and just start right away. But I do think he'll play. I do think he'll get some minutes. I think at some point in the season, you'll see him and Fofana together for a little bit, maybe for some of the games. But yeah, I'm excited about him. I really like him. He's really big, really athletic, really strong on the ball, really strong passer of the ball. All the things like you kind of look for in a modern center back. Obviously, can get better defensively, can get better reading the game. But at 21, basically every player can. So yeah, I'm excited about him.
He's definitely one for the future. That's what I would say. He's 21 years old.
Sure. Like long-term starter, future projection, definitely. Yeah.
Let's see. I hope it does work. And again, it improves us in terms of the position. Thiago Silva's not going to be around for long. Aspilicueta's not going to be around for long. The idea of having more in the middle. Some people saying Malang Sarr. I don't think he's that sort of type of player. But we'll see with him. He's at Chelsea now. We spent the money. He's here. This is going to fall into the recruitment. We have a recruitment team now, a team that have an idea that's been set from the owners of what they want to do moving forward, and the manager obviously as well. So, these are things that I think we're going to have to be patient on as fans. And this is why I keep saying to people, instead of jumping the gun, let's just wait. Let's just wait and see, what the idea is. What is it that they want to do moving forward, these owners? Because we don't know. We it's still very early doors to understand what Chelsea are trying to do. What I will say is that Bowley and co have been trying to put the pieces of the puzzles together, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch. And we know that because of the announcements of Christopher Vell and stuff. And people, unfortunately, I just feel some people feel that everything needs to happen now. And I don't think people are really understanding the depth of the club and where it was at after the sanctions, where we was as a club. We had Bowley as like the only guy in the hierarchy board with Egbali, and everyone else was sacked. Like there was so much that needed to be done, and it needed to be done. We've not even had them for a year yet. You know, what is it, 8-9 months as a max that they've been here, maybe a bit more. But you know, time needs to be given to them. Whether they're going to get it spot on or they're going to fuck it up is not up for us to judge as a fans now. We need to just wait, see what they're going to do. What's their philosophy? What's their idea? Why they bought so many youngsters? What they're going to do with them? Who are we going to buy as these marquee signings? Who are we going to do like we did with Enzo Fernandez and pump just to bring him across, hundreds of mils to bring him in? What areas are going to be more prioritized to be sorted first? And then obviously later on the squad depth, which we know we need to look at as well. And these are all things that are going to unfortunately take a bit of time, but we do need to see a progression as a club. And as a club, if we don't see progression, and I think you'll see the progression from Bowley and the board in terms of the backing, then it falls on the manager. Because the stronger the squad gets and the more ammo that you get, the more you need to start making your systems work and play to the way that we can see progression. If we see progression, but we don't win the league next season, but we finish second or third and we're like 8 points behind, everyone will probably say, oh, that's pretty good. We're on the right, we're on the right way. This is what we want. We want to see Chelsea moving forward. And that's the key. The key is to see us do that. It's not just going to be from 0 to 100 in one season. It's going to take a bit of time to gradually dig at that. And that's why I think Potter has to be careful, because going into next season, if he doesn't, put some consistent wins together, and we are losing games still and dropping, and you've got these players, and your team's overall better. You've got Nkunku starting next season as well, who should be giving you goals. You've got to get him playing well. These are things that we can judge, not now. So we'll definitely see it at a later stage. At a later stage with the ideas with the players that we are signing. Enzo Fernandez to Chelsea is what we're going to talk about now coming up. Obviously, Chelsea right backs. It seems like it's not a priority at the football club, from what we're being told. Reece James is injured. We've got Aspilicueta there. There's not really been much talks other than from the Celtic defender himself, Juranovic, who we've seen in the World Cup, who's had some very good games. We know it's an area that maybe needs to be ultimately sorted, but maybe the manager and the board themselves don't look at it as being a position that needs to be prioritised now. Maybe they do. Again, it doesn't seem or feel like we're going to do that as of yet. We're concentrating on the midfield. Once we concentrate on midfield, do we look at the forward line, or will we look at the defensive aspects as well and try and bring players in? We'll have to wait and see. At a late stage, we have got Ben Jacobs coming on tomorrow at 1 o'clock as well. So make sure you guys are available. Still over 700 of you guys here tuned in as well. So we'll be definitely going through lots of stuff in regards to that. But right back, Josh, just quickly on the right back area. It seems to be I don't want to say not prioritised, because they could be doing stuff without us even knowing, but concentrating on the midfield as we know at the moment. But it feels like nothing's going on with that right back area. And it's been a case for a while, hasn't it, at Chelsea?
Yeah, it feels that way, but I think obviously they're looking at guys, right? We've been linked to every right back in the world. I think most recently I think they're looking to get a good player at that position for the right price, because obviously when you have Reece James, right, like he's going to be your predominant starter, but he's also not available a lot. So when you're looking at somebody, I think they're looking at a few things. They're looking at style of play, age, price, willingness to maybe not start every game. So that's why I love that kid, the kid from Celtic, the Croatian kid, Juranovic. I really like him. I've heard Pavard. I think Pavard would be great in that right back position. If we're going to stay in a back four, if that's what Potter's long-term goal is, then I think whoever that player is needs to be more of a right back centric player than say a wing back, because Reece is very special in what he can do. He can sort of do both roles. He's very creative in the attack, but I don't think you're going to find somebody similar to him as a backup. So you should look for more of a strong, predominant right back, in my opinion, to fill that role. That's kind of, I think, why Asby plays. Obviously, he's way past it from a game standpoint. Like, he's just not, his game is just not there. But he is more of a right back than, say, Charlo. I would prefer Charlo playing right back right now in the position that we're in. But Asby is probably, you could say, is more of a traditional right back than Charlo. So I think that's why he plays there. But Yeah, any of those guys, like a guy like Dumfries, he's maybe more wing back to me than right back.
Yeah.
And the price is extraordinary, in my opinion, for a player like that. 40, 50 million, the quoted price. I think that's extraordinary for him. I like that 8 to 15 million price range for that position if you can find the right player. And like I said, Juranovic, Pavard, either one of those guys I would love to have in the team as a backup. And it's not like they're going to be a back. Listen, we all know how available Reece James is and is not. Whoever that player is going to get a lot of minutes. So, yeah, that's where my look would be to look at them as look for a more traditional right back and less of a wing back style player in that.
Yeah, well, again, it goes to what Potter wants to do. I do think he wants the back four, or back three, or back four. I mean, he wants the back four. So if you want the back four, you need players that can accommodate in that. However, you want players that also can be versatile. And I think why we're looking at people like Enzo Fernandez, and we're going to talk about him. I keep saying we are going to talk about it in a second. Is again the ability to be able to play in a variety of different roles, in my opinion. So I think being able to adapt to different systems is important. Something we lack, and I think we try and do that with the systems and change them, but we don't ultimately have the players or the personnel to carry it out, and that's why we see the lack of consistency, because they just can't do it. It's just not them. I mean, Lewis, just quickly before we go into this, but this can't be true. I've just seen this on Twitter. This can't be true, and quoted by Fabrizio Romano as well. But apparently, there's a chance that Pulisic will leave Chelsea in January transfer window.
There's always a chance. I've heard this for the last year.
Right back doesn't seem to be, well, we say it doesn't seem to be prioritised at the moment. We're not talking about it again. We haven't been still talking about it for a while. They haven't been talking about it for a while. We do, but the Chelsea themselves don't seem to be talking about it for a while. What's your thoughts on the right back area? Is it a must now with Reece James looking like he could potentially be injury prone as well?
Oh, it's been a must. It's been a must for like a year or two. I love Aspi, but the more he plays, the worse it's going to look on him. I'm not going to say it's going to tarnish his legacy or anything like that. It's really not. We all know what Aspi was like in his prime, but he's nowhere near that player now. And the way Nottingham Forest and Bournemouth in the second half, by the way, just nuked that right-hand side as soon as Aspi was on the pitch. It's not even funny. If he starts against Man City, I'm on to Potter, because like you're just conceding defeat at that point. I'd rather see Chalobah on the right-hand side than see Aspi. He just shouldn't be starting in any serious games anymore. He's not at that level. Play him once a month or something if we need to, but we need a right back in. All this bollocks I'm hearing about how, what is it? Any other right back that we see other than the likes of Dumfries or Pavard is too big of a drop off to Reece James compared to Aspi is no. No.
Yeah, because I'll say even if we don't address right back in this window, then for me the when he's healthy, the person who has to back up Reece James is probably Ruben, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Oh no.
Yeah, I mean he's the most similar offensively to Reece. He doesn't have the defensive ability, but he's more defensive than Asby, and he's more attacking than Chalo. But that's the situation we're in if we don't address that position.
I would play Chalobah. Just give it a go. We've got nothing to lose right now, and it might be that Chalobah, Silva, and Koulibaly as a back four with Cucurella actually works better than having Azpilicueta there who can't run, especially when we play against Man City.
I know for a fact that works better, Jim. If you watch, listen, Koulibaly got a lot of stick for that game last week. I mean, overall, if you look at it, it wasn't a horrendous. If you look at his numbers, are actually pretty good. But he was doing so much cover for Asby on that right side. Like if you look at his average positioning of that game, he's basically like on Asby's ass. Like because if Asby gets beat, then you're 1-on-1. Right, so he's there trying to stop guys from getting past Asby. I think that's when he picked up his yellow card. Is exactly what happened. Asby was way forward. The guy got by Asby, and Koulibaly is the last man at that point. So he's just trying to stop him. I think having Chalo there would help us defensively way more. And at this point, without Reece James, I'd rather that. I'd rather the defensive stability than trying to, for whatever reason, Potter was attacked on the right side with Asby and Raheem Sterling. That's a fireable offense in my opinion. Why are you attacking with Asby at all?
The only reason he plays Azpilicueta, in my opinion, is just because he's the captain. If that's
no
the
question.
Case, take the captain's armband off him and give it for me. And even though you can't speak great English, I'd just give it to Silva. I would.
Yeah, absolutely. So would I. Yeah. Clearly the best player on the pitch. Clearly the most capable. Like
he is. He's a leader, isn't he? He's a natural leader, and that, we don't have any of them in our team. But all right, I'm not going to talk about the Pulisic comment. I can't be asked. Let's talk about Enzo Fernandez because he is a player it's being linked to Chelsea. He wants Chelsea. He's told Benfica he wants to go Chelsea. He doesn't want to play for them anymore, is what we've heard. We also heard of recent, and I'm talking about today, that apparently the owners of Chelsea have met with Benfica and Fernandez's agent in London last night to hold more talks over a transfer via Simon Johnson as well. I'd say most of the fan base, Lewis, is quite up for the idea of Enzo Fernandez to Chelsea. I mean, you ain't going to ask me twice. I wanted him before we was even linked to him. I mean, I was, commenting on him on Twitter about how much I'd love him at Chelsea and whatever else and his abilities and why I think he would work for us. But your thoughts on him at Chelsea, if it does happen, obviously, does it improve us massively? But also the fans on Twitter that are moaning about the price tag.
Yeah, the price tag, I understand it. It looks like another one of those flavor of the month board signings, but this comes with Potter's approval and the approval of our new technical directors, who are meant to be a lot smarter in their analysis than our old board was. In terms of the player, we desperately need that sort of a profile, a ball winner who can actually create and has a good final product on him. Obviously, isn't going to change anything in the long term, but that is the sort of player that you can build a team around. And then you get the best out of him. You get a much more improved team as a result. Is the price tag a bit too much? Yes, but
I agree.
World Cup tax with the 25% they have to send to River Plate as well. I understand it. Plus, we are in a desperate need of a creative midfielder, and he brings us that. So I think as long as he improves the team, no one's going to focus on the price tag.
Does it become a problem because, we know that he needs to bed in, but we also know that we need more there? Do you think it becomes a problem that he comes in and maybe he'll have an effect, but it's not of a massive effect, it changes us completely? Because that could be the case as well, because we know that there's other areas.
Maybe, but any criticism he'll get will probably be from rival fans, not really from Chelsea fans. In terms of Chelsea, we all understand our squad's crap. Enzo is not going to turn us into a top 4 team. He'll make our midfield better, but that's about it. Still going to be overran in midfield in transition anyway.
100%.
Not unless we get another one.
Yeah, I mean, we've got more on it as well from Fabrizio Romano, which has come out recently as well, basically saying that, where is it? Chelsea Dodger put it up, didn't he? Yeah, there it is. Yeah. Basically, Chelsea and Benfica are still negotiating on key payment details. They spent the whole night doing it. The deal is still advanced and needs the green light from Rui Costa. It's not closed yet as I'm speaking. Then let me tell you this. I think we're past the yes. I'll be honest with you. Because you don't get to this position. This is where people need to read things and try and break it down in their heads and understand it. I don't think we get to this position if it isn't agreed between the clubs. And I think that's done. I think what's taken so long is the structure of what is such a big fee. And to get it right, not only for Benfica, but also that there's a payment that's got to be made to his old team. Was it River Plate? Is it? It was before.
River
Plate. 25%.
So, I think it's 34 million.
So this thing of people, I've seen it on Twitter, people pointing out, we're not getting him, it's taking too long. We're not. Start crying like babies. They need to understand that there's a reason why this takes so long, especially this the magnitude of the size of the deal that we're making. He will come to Chelsea on I think he beats Lukaku's fee, didn't he? What would he come out?
Yeah, that's another positive. I don't want him being our highest transfer.
I think Bowley's done that, on purpose. To be fair, but that
and we're not just paying his release clause. So it's not as easy as saying, oh well, do you just pay the money, right? No, we're paying more than the release clause in order to get him in January and in order to get this in installments. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that maybe they have to pay River Plate that full 34 million up front. Yeah. Maybe they don't get to do installments with River Plate on that. So now they want that first payment from Chelsea to be maybe more in that 70-80 range. That way they can pay the 34 and still have 40-50 million for themselves to try and get a replacement. So there's lots of minor details. Jem, I think you're exactly right. The yes is You're only negotiating. You're only this far in negotiations if you've already said yes. So it's just a matter of ironing out the last few details, which, in all honesty, have probably already been done. We're just not privy to that yet. I think he'll be a Chelsea player very soon.
I'll be honest with you, I think it was done a couple days ago. I think the yes was done a couple days ago. When they held talks with Benfica to get the fee, the original.
Yeah, it's just about the structure of it now.
Yeah,
it's about
exactly.
the payment plans.
Exactly.
That's the only thing stopping this from going to a medical and official confirmation.
It's a lot. It is a lot of money for him, but there is a lot of benefits to this, and this is where people need to understand. He's 21 years old. He has room to develop. Let's be serious. He's not coming as the the written, the proven completed article. He is able to improve his game at this club. He brings a lot already. What I like about Enzo Fernandez is the matureness. And what I saw of him in Argentina in the World Cup and his Champions League, because people forget how good he's been in the Champions League prior to the World Cup as well, right? He has really his understanding of the game is for me, it's something we don't have. And when I say that, I say he receives the ball and he already knows where he's passing the ball before it comes to him. And the only players that I remember that used to be able to do that have played for Chelsea is Cesc Fabregas and Eden Hazard. And I'm talking about receiving the ball and knowing what you're going to do with it before it comes to you. Like, having that ability is such a big thing. But to do that at 21 years old and have that calmness in your game and the way that you played for Argentina, where he was asked to play in the lone 6 role, which shocked me. Because I was like, why are they playing him there? I just, for me, he's always been an 8, someone that you can play in maybe a double 6 pivot, but also in an 8. But playing him in the lone 6 role and being able to do that just goes to show the versatility of the player. And look, it's a lot of money. I get it. Yeah, it is a lot of money. But I think it's money well spent. And it's a big step in the right direction for me in terms of what we're trying to do moving forward. It doesn't solve all our issues, though. Him coming in doesn't mean it's over. We've sorted out the midfield. We've already said we need another midfielder. We need to look at someone else. A Declan Rice next to an Enzo Fernandez and a Mateo Kovacic is a very strong midfield. It's a lot of money, but it's a very strong midfield.
I think you still need a DM next to Rice and Enzo if he did that.
What do you mean?
Rice to me is more box to box than sitter, so I think you'd rather be better off with someone who's a pure sitter. I wouldn't say no to Rice. If the price tag's good enough, I'm fine with it.
Do you think we're going to play double pivot 6s still in the 4s, or do you think it's going to be a lone 6? This is the thing.
Maybe lone 6 and 2 8s. That's what I was saying.
If it's a lone 6 and 2 8s, then you've got Enzo Fernandez and Kovacic. They play, but then what happens for Mount?
Mount ain't starting.
Yeah. No, but wait a sec. You're going to be paying Mason Mount 250k a week, supposedly.
No, we will not. No, we will not.
But he's got to get in that team somehow, isn't he? In some way, he will.
Yeah, if he can perform at that level, maybe. But as for me right now, we're building a squad without Mason Mount until Mount can start playing well. He can be a squad player.
I think we're going to do a 4-2-3-1. My opinion.
I think we're going to be in a 4-2-3-1 as well. I think that's what if you look at Brighton, that's the shape they play. They play a 4-2-3-1. And that's Potter's team, right? That's his idea. He built all that stuff. And then if you look at, I think our last couple of games, we've been in that formation of 4-2-3-1. I think I like that formation myself because I think it gives you the most attacking options on the pitch at once. I think our biggest issue playing that right now is we're playing Mount as a cam, and that's just not what he does. So whoever we bring in throughout the summer or the rest of this January window, I still think that's the shape we'll be in. Just be a matter of who the players are next year that will slot into those positions. The main shape that Potter would like to be in.
The one person that's been very confident in all this is someone that many people may not know, but Felix. I know Lewis knows him. I know him. I think Josh may know him as well on Twitter. But he's been adamant all the way through that this is already a done deal a couple of days ago as well. But he came out and said that he's still been given confidence that Enzo Fernandez to Chelsea is a done deal, 100% deal signed. Told any talks last night were on specific payment dates within transfer windows for the instalments, lawyer talks, basically. I have no reason to doubt my source. He was involved in direct negotiations of the deal sheet. All negotiating happening now is between club lawyers on payment plans when instalments are paid. British transfer record needs time. trilingual agreement due to
Trilingual.
that's it. Yeah, there you go. Trilingual. I can't read, mate. River and Chelsea makes sense. I've been told Benfica have now contacted River Plate to confirm the deal sheet has been signed and now talks over how River Plate percentage will be paid, installments or flat fee, etc. Medical to be organised and international clearance to be completed. Look, he's gone. To be fair to him, he's gone hammer and tong in this, and if he gets it bang on, you know, he would be for me. He would have been the first that broke it ages ago. Even though Fabrizio Romano will give us a here we go, it would be the guy that kind of went in on it, and fair dues to him. I've spoke to Felix anyway. I've got a bit of time for him. I think he's a nice guy, but you know, it seems like we're getting a bit up and down because we saw David Ornstein come out on a video clip saying that Chelsea might look elsewhere because he's, you know, the Enzo deal's a bit much, and there's Cancelo and other players that we can get for cheaper. Blah 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 blah, and you know, it's I think we've, like we said, I think we are past that, and I think he will be a Chelsea player, and I think it will make a lot of sense. But a lot of people were very, from what I've seen, not sure how he fits Chelsea. And when I say that, I mean in terms of the pairing. In terms of the pairing, people go, "Oh, he can't play with Kovacic." Yeah, he can. I don't get why people don't think he can play with Kovacic. I don't know if you guys feel he can't play with Kovacic. If you do, I'd like you to tell me why you don't think him and Kovacic would work in a double
Who,
pivot.
Enzo?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't get that. I think he could he could play as a double. Actually, you do need someone who is more likely going to sit out the two. And
he would, wouldn't he? He would do that.
Who?
Enzo.
No, Enzo would push further forward. No, Enzo usually has best for someone sitting deep behind him, and then he gets to play forward, win the ball back, and just find another player in the final third.
Create. Agreed. I agree with that.
This is the great thing about he's at his best further forward.
This is the great thing about Enzo, because one of his biggest parts to his game is being able to create from the deep line, being able to pick the ball up with his left and right foot and spread balls 60, 70 yards and be accurate with it. And you know, and that allows us to transition. He can still do what he needs to do deeper if he has to. And I'm not saying he's going to do that all the time, but I think between Kovacic and him, especially in games where we're dominating the ball, because when we're at the bridge, what's our biggest issue? It's not about having a DM on the pitch sometimes. It's actually about breaking down teams and actually having midfielders that can break down teams, right? Yeah, or have the vision and the ideas to do that, right? Having a Kovacic and an Enzo, specifically an Enzo, will do that, I think, a lot easier, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I think Enzo could play with any of these guys except, I'll say this, and this is not a shot at Jorginho, but I think he is a way more specific midfielder for the other guys to have to adapt to play with than Enzo is. So I think Enzo is way more adaptable. The partner that you put him with can be much more versatile than if you're playing, say, anybody with Jorginho. Because Jorginho, we all know he's very specific. He wants the ball. He's not going to run a lot. He's not going to do a lot of defending. He wants the ball. He wants to try to keep possession. Like, it's a very specific skill set. Enzo, I think, is much more diverse in his skills, and that allows whoever the partner is to be more diverse and more free flowing, because they can work off of each other better. Again, not a shot at Jorginho, but I think he's just very specific when he plays. So whoever plays with him has to do a very specific job, which is basically cover his ass. And when he's not, if you don't have him playing, if you have an Enzo who's capable of getting out of trouble, he can pass, he can dribble, he frees that other player up to also be more versatile. So for me, I think he could play with pretty much any of them.
I agree. I think he gives us the option to do a bit of everything. And yeah, playing him with a Zakario maybe holds and having him a bit further is his natural game. I'm not saying that he will be better where he's able to do that. But if Kovacic has to play, and people say that Kovacic has to play, he's one player that has to be in the team. I don't see Enzo Fernandez sitting on the bench for 120 mil just because Jorginho needs to play or Zakaria needs to play. I just feel you can play both. People say Kante in, and if Kante can get back and not be injured next to Enzo, I mean,
it's a good pairing.
That could be a good pairing. So we have basically between keeping Kante, if we do, having Enzo and having Kovacic, and say Jorginho leaves, and we have Zakaria. I don't know what we're doing with Zakaria. Does he go back at the end? I think he's on the loan, isn't he? So he could be gone. But
yeah, he's on.
it gives us
But also,
something that we haven't.
also a cheap purchase option on him though too. So if they end up liking and I like the way Zakaria plays. If he continues to get better and they like the way he plays, well, that's a cheap 22 million option to add to your midfield as well. If he fits your profile.
100%. That's why I said I don't think we have to spend 80 million for a DM. We could find one for 40, 30 mil, and hold and ask him to hold while we allow the Enzos and the Kovacics, if we play a 4-for-3, to be more effective. People saying Edson Alvarez, it's going to cost you 40 mil. Maybe, I don't know. Like, it's definitely an option. He gives you, Enzo gives us a lot of options. That's what I'm going to say in terms of how we want to play. And when we look at the thread, we've got a thread here from CFC Central about Enzo Fernandez. I'll try and fly through this quickly because there's quite a lot here. But he talks about systems, and he goes on about how at Benfica, Enzo plays in a 4-2-3-1 as one of the 2 double pivots. His DM partner is Luis, is a hard-running defensive presence, selfishly allowing Enzo to focus on his progressive strengths to maraud forward to support the attack. Now, let me just say this one thing. He is great at going forward this out. I don't see him specifically as a Mateo Kovacic in terms of of carrying the ball, the dribbling ability of carrying the ball. I don't think he's that type of midfielder. He does it a little bit different in terms of the way he positions himself. But ultimately, what Lewis said and what you said there, Josh, you put a DM next to him, you can utilize him in the way that Benfica have played him, and that's an option. The right angles for the extensive passing range. Benfica also have an aggressive press, which suits Enzo's aggressive, high-intensity style. Now, is that something you would put to Chelsea as being aggressive without the ball, high intensity, winning the ball back quick? Do you think that's something that I think we are? I just don't think we can do it enough. If that makes sense.
It's not really that cohesive with it.
Yeah, we don't have the players healthy right now to do that. Who do that at a high level? So, like currently, no, I'd say we're not doing much pressing as a team. Havertz did it a little bit last game. He was trying to drop deeper to attack the ball, but I'd say right. If N'Golo is healthy, Reece James is healthy. If the core of your team is healthy, maybe you can be a bit more aggressive in the press. But right now, no. He could help us with that, obviously. Like when you were talking earlier about does he come in and change our team, I think he's talented enough that you'll definitely see a difference. He might not make us he might not carry us on his back, but you'll see a difference in our play because he's so talented. Like you'll definitely notice a little change in that aspect.
100%. Enzo showed excellent tactical versatility, was the lone DM in a 4-3-3 versus Poland, then played in a 4-4-2 diamond, adapting his role superbly. Plays all 3 roles, including attacking 6 at Benfica to a very high level. Again, what we were just saying, the versatility of the player, being able to play in different roles in the midfield is something that, again, you need in this Chelsea squad, or we need in this Chelsea squad. Technical strengths, progressive passing, one of the Europe's finest progressors is adept at breaking every line of the op with sharp passes, does so frequently than anyone in Europe's top 8 leagues, makes him a useful weapon versus deep block two. Was meant to say deep block teams. Again, goes back to what we said, Lewis, about playing against a team that has the deep line against us. Apparently, Enzo Fernandez loves that, having someone that kind of gives him time to dictate and control games. A bit like like when Jorginho comes on, you say, "How he controls the game." He gets the ball moving. This guy's got
a much bigger passing range.
Yeah, basically, yeah. His range is like his IQ of.
That's why we can see a considerable improvement with him being in there. But we also know we need more than just that.
100%. Long passing, fantastic long passer attempts plus completes more long passes than 99% of midfielders in Europe. Usually switches play from the left / centre lanes to the right. A treat for someone like Reece James, can also find runners behind the lines. Again, Sterling's, Havertz, people that want to run behind the defence. He will find you. Part of the reasons why our forwards didn't work or haven't worked so well is because of the creation in the deep line, not being able to play the ball quick enough over the tops, not having the vision. Having the vision of this player now maybe allows these players to make runs more and be more effective. Havertz, maybe Sterling, You know, even Aubameyang to a degree until he's here.
Yeah.
Excellent pass shooting technique, long range shooting technique, for instance, is clean. He strikes in partial middle range. This is the other thing I was going to say. You know, technically, we know he's good at passing over, but do you know he's probably be the only midfielder in a long time that we've had that when he gets the ball from outside the box 20, 30 yards, has the ability to put it in the back of the net. He's technically very good. You know, from that position as well. Big up to Josh, man. See you later on, bro. I know you just said you got to shoot anyway.
All
so
right, guys.
Big up,
big up,
bro.
guys.
Big up.
Yeah,
Take
happy New
care.
Year, guys.
Happy New Year
Happy
to
New
you
Year.
as well. So, yeah, you know, again, it's something that we lack a lot, Lewis, isn't it? Sometimes we scream when we've been to the bridge. How many times have we screamed for
Someone
players?
pass forward. But then again, it's also an issue with the team that just nobody runs.
But I'm talking about shooting outside the box. Just shoot. You know, like no one has the ability in our midfield.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
No. The only thing we have is Mount just getting all of his shots blocked every game, about 10 times in a row. That's all we have.
People are doing this now. All these stats are mainly based in the Portuguese league, but that's where we play.
Players in the Portuguese league adapt really well to the Premier League, so I don't understand this.
I don't get why people get so tied up with leagues all the time and where they're playing. I know, like, I get it to a degree, but I just think it's too much. You know,
it's just about what the adjustments from those leagues. Like players from France, players from Portugal usually do a lot better than players from Germany, for example. It all depends on the league.
100%.
And Italy as well. I'll add Italy into that.
Italy as well. Grand duel / tackling. Hard as a nail tackler who goes in uncompromisingly into challenges. I've seen it. I think he is. Him and Kovacic were the top 3 in the World Cup for the most tackles won in midfield. So there's your answer in terms of will they do a job in midfield together? They're both, you know, they're both good at doing their job without the ball as well. Underrated part of his game is the technique coupled with moving into the box is his finishing. Again, we spoke about that. Scored 7 in 15 starts as well for River Plate when he was over there outside the box as well. So he can hit the ball basically. Psychological strength, work, great determination, shows great spirit as well. Engages fiercely, reacts aggressively to the ball as well. Everything that, you know, the way he's explaining it is everything we kind of need. Physical strength is good. He's strong. He's not small. He's 5'10" or 11 as well. So, you know, he can carry himself as well. And it goes on and on and on. There is weaknesses to his game, which is what I want to quickly get to, because I think most of us know his strengths. But weaknesses that we've got here is saying closing down, lack of explosive pace, plus aggression, sees him make mistakes while attempting to close down opponents. So he's not the quickest off, you know, without the ball in terms of shutting down, misses interception / tackle. So this again goes to what Lewis was saying actually in terms of having a having a DM there, that so he doesn't have to be that DM to shut down balls outside the box and things like that. He'll do it, but you know, ask him to sprint, God knows, from a certain part to another is maybe a bit too much. But big up CFC Cyprus and Blue Studio as well.
Big up you, man.
Look, I'm not going to bore you to death. There's a thread over there, CFC Central. Go and check it out. There's a lot of detail on that as well. I want to just quickly talk to some of the people here as well before we finish off in about 25 minutes or so. CFC Cyprus, what are you saying?
Look, man, I'm not sure what to trust anymore. I've lost faith in the team, to be honest. I hope the team can have some adjustments in January so we can come up and finally be able to play as the Chelsea that the fans recognize, because I don't see that.
So what's your thoughts on Enzo Fernandez?
Look, to be fair, I agree that he's a good player. I agree with what you said, that he's a player that he's going to come and they're still going to need process throughout the time that he's going to be here during Chelsea. I just don't agree on the price tag, and it's a bit of a issue for me, to be honest, because I was expecting maybe we could go and chase a different player rather than Enzo Fernandez, because with money we can get 2 other players in his position.
Yeah,
And
no,
that's
but
my view on that.
so you think we should be a bit more smart? Right, I get. Look, the price tag's a problem. What I will say is the player that we're getting and I've said this even before we were linked to him, is a very good player in terms of what he can offer, and we will benefit from that. The problem is now is do we look at this is why I don't like the price tags, is that everyone looks at the price tag and expects him to just take off straight away. He's got to be great. Forget he's 21. You know, he's 200. He's going to be 105 million sterling. He's got to be. You know, he's got to happen now. That's the sort of attitude that we have. You know, sort of thing. And I just think that he's a great player. Don't get me wrong. I agree with the price tag being an issue, but if you don't get him now, someone else will. And wherever he goes, and I've said this, whether it's a Real Madrid or whatever, I think he's the type of player that will kick on, and in my opinion, potentially become world class. That's how highly I rate this guy. I really do think he's got something about him.
Well, I will agree on you, but if you come to think of it, if we pay this certain price tag, how much do you think that Federico Valverde, the Real Madrid central midfielder, should go around for?
I think he's a great player as well. I think Valverde's easy over 100 million anyway. In my opinion, I think if you try to buy him from Real Madrid, they'd probably value him saying stupid. You know, that like money in the game's going up as well. People need to people forget this as well. Like there's a lot of money that gets pumped into football, and as long as that continues, you're going to see ridiculous price. 100 million will be normal soon for a player. I'm telling you, it's getting that way. People would buy defenders for 100 million and would be like, "Oh, that's normal," you know. Yeah, it'll be like 300 million's the top, you know, the top bracket at the point where it comes to buying a world class elite striker. Like, there's just so much money in football, you know. It's growing.
You know what's my concern is that if we look at Chelsea's previous transfer markets, we've seen many players come in, but the list of them being successful in a Chelsea shirt. And I'm saying that because I feel like if you see the team, and because Luis was present in the match against Nottingham Forest and he saw how shambolic and shit we were, he will understand and he will tell to you that after I saw the video that I 100% agree that there are players that do not have what it takes to play for that Chelsea shirt. And
Yeah.
I 100% agree with Koulibaly not being able to play. And for some reason this season, I've seen that Senegalese players have not had, without trying to be racist, okay, I admire a lot African players, but for some reason I see that Koulibaly and Mendy haven't played really well on the World Cup, and this has a big
Koulibaly
problem.
had a great World Cup.
I mean,
Yeah, I don't think he was bad personally. I thought
He was one of the best centre backs in the tournament.
yeah,
I just-
but
Mendy was crap.
I think people well overlook Koulibaly. I think he does have an error in him. He does make silly mistakes. Don't get me wrong. He has that moment. But ultimately, I think time needs to be given to him as well. I do.
yeah, but you know, we're talking about a player who should be considered to be at the peak of his prime right now. Koulibaly at the age he is right now. Don't get me wrong, because at the age he is, you were expecting a complete defender.
Yeah, but at the same time, he's a player that I agree has loads of experience, but's never left Italy for how long? You know, he's played only in one league. You know, so like, you know, people like this Premier League is quick, it's physical. You don't get time. You know, he has the abilities. I feel to be in the Premier League with the ball at his feet. I think he's actually very progressive. I think he's very good with the ball at his feet, in my opinion. Watching Koulibaly, he's just, you know, I think we rely on our defence too much, Chelsea. And I think that you see our defence actually does more than it should has to actually do in games, in my opinion, because of our midfield. I don't think we have a midfield.
We have this problem that N'Golo Kante is not present at the team. Okay, this person is one of the key players that Chelsea have. He's been gone from the second match week against Spurs. From that point onwards, we don't have a center defensive. We don't have a midfielder who can hold defense. Okay, who cannot control the game. Okay, we have Denis Zakaria, hoping he can do something. We have Jorginho. Okay, I admire Zakaria's effort and I respect that. But to be fair, I do have my doubts on Jorginho. I just don't feel like
We
he's
all
a
have
player who can control the midfield, and we
Yeah, no,
need someone in that position.
we do. Look, buying Enzo Fernandez doesn't solve the midfield completely. We all know that we need another midfielder
Of
in there, and
course, I'm
Jorginho's
not.
not that answer. But having one of them as either Kante or Jorginho as rotation is not a bad thing as well, because we need the squad depth, but we need the quality of squad depth, not just numbers. And what Chelsea have at the moment is just numbers. We have numbers, we have players, but they're just
Of
numbers.
course.
They're not actually quality. I don't think they're actually the level. Some of them are not the levels for me for Chelsea, from what I've seen,
Look,
in my opinion.
what I
You know,
might say might sound a bit rough on you, and we have to be a bit realistic. If we continue to stick with Graham Potter, I guarantee to you, this season we're not going to finish. I doubt that we will finish in the Champions League spot. But if we continue to have Potter, I have faith that in the upcoming year he will do a progress with the team and he will lift it up. And if
yeah,
that's what we're waiting for,
I agree.
I think he
okay.
just needs time, mate. I think he just needs time, and like everything else, I think he just needs to. We need to eventually, at some point, back a manager. Like we need at some
Yeah.
point need to give this guy time. We were meant to do it with Tuchel, we didn't do it. We just
You know what's the issue? As Chelsea fans, we learned from the Abramovich era that we want the manager who will bring instant success, and that is something that's wrong because I've learned with this psychology, and right now I'm looking at Chelsea and I'm looking, what the fuck is going on? I want a fucking trophy, and we
Mate,
haven't lived in this place right
we
now
got
that we have to
yeah.
back a manager.
We got Matty. I know he hates Potter. He really told me. He says there's no point. He don't understand Chelsea having a manager that has no resume or CV. In his opinion, he's told me. He said if it's not a manager that's has won things or done things, having Potter, it's just not going to happen. You know, he just sees him being a massive downgrade.
Yeah.
And everyone has their own opinions. He could be right. It could be that Potter doesn't last and he goes and we go and buy Andy Lewis Enrique or whatever. You know, these
It's
things could happen
football.
later. But to
Anything
judge it
can
now is
change.
well too early. It's well too early, but let's
Yeah.
have a quick word with a couple of the other guys in there as well. We're going to catch up in a second. Let's go to the Blue Studio. What are you saying?
Hey, how you doing, Jam?
Not bad. How are you?
Lovers, how you guys doing?
Big up, my guy. Hope you're good.
Big up.
Hope you're good.
Bro, happy New Year, same old Chelsea. Lord help us.
Same old, bro.
Yeah.
Lord help us. I think I heard what everybody have been saying, and I think the problem is I've watched Enzo from Liverpool because I'm a very huge fan of Enzo Fernandez a lot. So I watched him from Liverpool with Julian Alvarez. So I think what I like about him most is the kind of way he progressed the ball from either playing more as a defensive midfielder or more as a number 8, where you give him the ball, you look up and the pass. And if you look at the kind of midfielder we have right now, we don't have a player like him in our squad where
I agree.
you can see I want to rely on this guy to give me that progressive passes. Because if you look at Benfica play more like 4-2-3-1, where Enzo is that screening guy like a register where give him that ball, he look up and he pass because he has players around him where when they make that runs, he pass. And we demand that from Jorginho, but Jorginho is not the kind of player like that. He's like more of a controller where you play more of possession-based football. You give Jorginho, he's gonna just calm the ball down. That's not what we need Jorginho for. We need him to look up and pass. And when we have N'Golo Kante doesn't pass the ball. What he does, he just get the ball from opposition, run, and lay off the ball. It's like a box to ball, the kind of way N'Golo does. So for us to kind of go forward, Enzo is kind of the guy we need in that midfield where we can progress the ball from the back.
Got the vision.
Yes, so from the midfield to the attack, and also we need more of a dynamism and physicality in that midfield. Since John Obi Mikel has left Chelsea Football Club, we haven't bought a midfielder of that ink of Obi Mikel because we know how good Obi Mikel is not a defensive, he's a number 10. But Jose Mourinho turned him to a defensive midfielder, and look how flawless he is as a DM.
Very good. Yeah, he was very good.
Enzo like that could be the kind of player where you need him to be that, because he is very disciplined and he's very physical. Like in kind of we need that physicality and dynamism in that midfield. Enzo will give you that. He will improve us massively because we seriously need an improvement in that midfield. And I think him coming in can also elevate the players around him too, where they can step up their game. Because like I said, quality is needed for Chelsea to go forward. And this team I'm watching, I've been saying it for the past 3-4 seasons. This team is a tournament. This Chelsea team I'm watching is a tournament team. we are not ready to win the Premier League title. I'm sorry. This is a tournament club where you can go to any cup, FA Cup, Carabao Cup, Champions League, and just become flawless and become the best team. So this is a Chelsea team. So this team needs an overall and a little rebuild, quality upon quality upon quality. Then we can have a serious. I'm still unknown on Potter yet because I still want to see what he's gonna do. But for us to go forward,
Chelsea
challenging, competing, winning Premier League, we need to have quality. It's very, very important because if you don't have a quality, you can't challenge with Liverpool, Manchester City, and go. It's not possible.
Quality is always equally what brings you closer to the best, and that's what Chelsea need. And we've not had. You're right. We've not had that for a while, and we need to improve not only in the quality of the 11, but also the quality of the squad and the depth.
Squad,
of the squad, you know? So it's definitely. I agree, Lucy. Spot on with some of your comments, man.
Because if you look at the way, because the way my problem with the way we are playing is I keep thank God they always go to the match a lot. He kind of analyze and talk, and I keep asking the same question to majority of Chelsea fans. We need to have a serious, apart from Enzo, we also need to have a serious conversation about our players because we need a creative spark in that midfield. Apart from Enzo, like a player like McAllister, someone like that can, if Enzo passes the ball, that person could be that pass of the ball, either he shoot or he pass down. We all say Mason did that. What is his actual job in that team? We need to have that discussion because he has been protected by a majority of the farm boy, and it's not good enough. Because it's coming from the youth, it's coming from the youth up to the senior team. So we need to have a conversation about him. What is his actual role in that Chelsea squad? Because I don't know his role. We all say Mason do this. Mason, what is his actual role? Because if it's a number 10, I expect a number 10 to be shooting accurately, having a better decision making in the final third.
Bro, we got the worst 10s in the Premier League. Bro.
Mount is not a pass first 10.
I don't.
What is his role? That I keep asking everybody, what is his role in that team? Because my problem is if he doesn't have a role, he has to be coming from the bench. That's it.
It's work rate.
And you want to know what's crazy? It's like what he used to do well, he doesn't even do well no more. Like his pressing, his pressing is terrible.
It's not just him though, and this is what I think we get too fixated with Mason Mount, and I don't blame us. I think with Mason Mount, I think the issue is
it's because he starts the most.
Maybe, but at the same time, equally when he first came to Chelsea in his first 2 seasons, I think he set the standards in himself.
He wasn't even that good.
But there was lower standards then.
But even if they weren't that great, but every Chelsea fan at that point was looking at Mason Mount going, "This guy is a good player." I can see.
But we had no standards that season, bro.
Yeah, but at the same time, was Mason Mount bad in them 2 seasons?
No, but like.
He wasn't, but he was consistent, wasn't he? And he got us out of games. He won us games.
I wouldn't say one is probably what games that we already spanking teams. Mason Mount actually didn't. To me, he didn't win us games where maybe the Liverpool game I could come in recent memory, but most of the times the games he scored in, we already like battering the team or beating the team. You know what I mean? I think the thing about Mount, like the best patch that Mount has was the end of that Champions League run. Or like that 2021, he was actually contributing, doing well. But like to me, I saw the warning signs from after that, where he would get in the final third and he would constantly make the wrong decisions or transitional play. Like he's not the only problem of this squad.
I know.
I think that the problem is that when we get on Mount, he gets so protected and he starts the most. And the thing is, he starts the most, and he does not get dropped when he's on bad form.
Thank you very much for mentioning that.
He's also playing. 1 second. He's also playing in a squad that is very inconsistent as well. So
I understand that. But even if you don't agree with it, even if say I don't like Mason Mount, right? You probably don't like Ziyech, right? But it's like if Mason Mount plays 6-7 games. And he doesn't get dropped, why can't the same standards be applied for anybody else?
It can.
But
My issue with the
Mason Mount, it doesn't happen.
No. My issue with the Mason Mount, and I'm talking about on social media, my issue with Mason Mount is it's always just north and south. You always get one bunch of people that just think he's awful and they cry when they see him in the lineup. And go, oh my God, it's Mason Mount. And the other side of it, you've got, I don't want to say his name, but people that absolutely love him and think he's the best thing since this, that, and the other. Anyway, but look, the way I look at Mason Mount is it's the middle ground. There isn't any middle ground with Mason Mount.
It's like, to me,
this season there isn't, because he's been terrible all season. Let's be real about it. He's been crap.
to me,
Yeah.
he's not that
So
I
great.
was in the middle before this.
So is
season.
everyone.
Sorry,
Go on, Javi. Yeah, go on.
To me, he's not that like, oh wow, great player that you could rely on, like, you know, that Cam that's gonna make the difference. To me, he has the standard to me of like a squad player. You see how Gallagher comes in and performs, or even start sometime be a rotational player, but we can't be relying on a Mason Mount. Like, you
No,
know what I
people
mean?
shouldn't be. But that's the problem. There it
Yeah,
is.
man.
Because we have, and that's why people get so opinionated about him.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if Mason Mount ain't doing this, ain't that? Mason Mount. I see it on Twitter. As soon as we don't play well, saying, "Oh, Mason Mount, get him off," or "Mason Mount, he let us down today. It was his fault." It's that he's not Eden Hazard.
Yeah,
He's
but
not that type of player.
But the people who rate Mount, they'll put him on that pedestal.
That's the problem.
First
That's
player
the
to
problem.
get to 50 goals and assists since Eden Hazard. I don't care. He ain't Eden Hazard.
But he's also not a Milner. That's my
Yeah,
thing.
he's
So
kinda
it's like,
is a
He's
Milner, though.
playing more as a Milner.
Yeah,
So, like, you get what I
Jen,
mean?
he kinda is a
I
Milner,
think-
because Milner's not
the
that
problem
bad.
is- the
Like,
problem is,
Milner in his prime was not that bad.
but the problem is with Mason is we've seen Mason play much better than this, because this season he's been below par. We've seen him play much better than this. What the fans are asking from him is not do exceptional, do the basic. When you get to the final third, now decide, do you pass or do you shoot? And that has been my question with him, because he said his role model is Lampard, and the Lampard I watch, Lampard has a better decision making in the final third than Mason Mount. So if Lampard is his role model, that is a big mistake, because Lampard is actually, he has brain, he knows when to shoot and when to make a better decision making. People doesn't see. I know it can't be that everyday consistent, but at least do the basic. When you go into the final in third, make a decision. Do you shoot? Do you pass? Make that. Everything's not about shooting. Make a decision. Do you pass or do you shoot? If you are doing the right thing, don't fans will come at you, because people understand. Okay,
My thing, just quickly before we finish, because I don't want to sit and talk about Mason Mount for 20 minutes. It just gets boring. But
Yeah.
we do it every day. But
Yeah.
look, with Mason Mount, it's just as simple as this for me, right? He ain't going anywhere, right?
Mhm.
I get what Xavi's saying in terms of certain things in his game. I agree. I think there's parts of his games that his decision making, his lack of influence. There's a couple of things that does bother me that he needs to improve. But at the same time, I also look at what we have and where we're at as a club at the moment, and the players that we have, and whatever else. And my point is this: we're going to eventually progress and get better. All right, hopefully that's the idea, to improve this squad. Better players means that you get better performances, which means that you're more consistent, which means that you actually start seeing us maybe closing the gap to the top two, which is the aim. When that does happen, when the Nkunkus, the Enzos, the whatever, the Leaos come in, yeah, it's going to be then down to Mason Mount to force himself into a team where the quality is better, right? So the judgments of Mason Mount come when this squad improves, for me, because he's going to have to. If he can't get in a team and he's sitting, he's holding bench, yeah, then he should. And then obviously he's not good enough. And then there's a problem, isn't there? You know what I mean? But till then, I find it very hard to really be like he has to leave.
But Jem, the problem is, thank God Lewis is here. Jem,
right?
I keep saying it. Thiago Silva can't be Chelsea's best player. I have a problem with that. 38 years of Silva is our best player. I have a problem with that, because we can't rely too much on Silva. I'm sorry.
We rely on Reece James. Same thing.
Yes, James is injured. Yeah, I know James is injured, but Silva that plays week in and week out, and we're relying on him to be that world class every day. And he's been very good for us. He has been outstanding for us. I have a problem with that, because now if Silva is our best player, now there's an issue. And step up. Other guys step up. No one is stepping up except Silva. I have a problem.
That's all of them.
Big problem with that.
It's just Silva, isn't it? That's my point.
I have an issue. Why is it only Silva? Why only him?
That's the thing. Like it's clear that we have a creativity issue. Like we don't create chances. Like it's terrible. Like to have 0 shots on target away at Nottingham Forest in the second half is piss poor.
Fact.
But it's just like when those creative players come in and like we can improve Mason Mount, and it's up to him to get into the squad. The problem is the favoritism that I think Potter shows to him. Because what I think happens and what I've heard now is that Mason Mount is like a standout trainer. Like when he's in training, he just like clear that standout player. I think it's like up to Potter to realize that some players are just like that in training, where they're like amazing in training, but they could
It's
be
William.
average in the game. Like Hazard was our worst trainer by far. But
Javi, let me ask you this: right? Who on the bench comes on for Mason Mount and plays better?
Nobody.
to me, I
That is
think
the problem. That's what I'm
no.
saying.
But
Pulisic.
We haven't
Listen,
Pulisic.
that's not my problem. To me, if if I feel like
No,
you give,
not even you.
I know Jem.
Pulisic's our best playmaker per 90.
Jem. I know you don't like
He was our best forward on Saturday, personally.
Jem. I know you don't like Ziyech, bro. I know you don't
Second
like
half, who
Ziyech.
appeared?
Bro,
Well,
I know, Jem. I know you don't like Ziyech, but you can't tell me if Ziyech gets his run of games, he doesn't create more chances than Mason Mount.
I don't think he does. I'll be
But
honest with you.
But you know what's crazy? He came in at Nottingham Forest games, and he honestly created our best chance of the second half.
My issue with Ziyech is the same I have with all of them, and including Mason Mount, is that I don't think any of them take their chances or are consistent enough when they are given the chance to show.
Mm-hmm.
That's my issue. So you want to take Mount off and play Ziyech, he'll be great one game, and then he'll be a ghost the next because we've seen.
But then,
under
but Mount goes for 7 straight games. It doesn't make sense. It's like, all right, Ziyech gets 2 games to do that. Mount gets a run
But
of
he's not
7
more
to
than
8 games, and it's pure crap. Imagine how can they ever ease in a season or build momentum when they're so patchy? Like when they don't even get to play.
Yeah, I just think they're so chalk and cheese. I keep saying it. In my opinion, I just think the chemistry, and I talk about chemistry so much between what we have at the moment. Like we have so many players that want to move but can't dribble, and we have one that can do the dribbling, but he's inconsistent and doesn't do it enough in Pulisic. Like we lack things in that forward line.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
How many times have we switched that forward line? Go on, under Tuchel. How many times have we played Ziyech and then Lukaku and then Mount, or Havertz, Mount and Lukaku? And
who's the constant in there? As always,
there isn't any. That's the problem.
Yes, there is, bro. You can't tell me Mount has that nailed on left wing inside. He's had that. He started the moment.
There's no constant in terms of the chemistry.
The 3 of them. Yeah, I understand that, but that's been our problem, though. That's been a problem where I think that's the one thing, you know how I feel about Graham Potter, and I can say it now. I really still don't think he's the man to take us and lead us to all these trophies and the glory, but he has not got his team yet. And I'm looking. The constant is these group of players. Like, you know what I mean? Like coming off the Mount thing, I look at our squad. And I look at our 11, and I'm just like, this is not like a squad that can compete. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's fine.
We're missing so much.
That's where we're at the moment. That's my point. We know we just got to understand where we're at as a fucking club. We have our expectations there. That's fine. They can stay there, but understand what we have and who we are and what we've been through in this last year. You go on EPL turf. Go on, mate. Go on. I
think we are so much negative because of current performance right now. If you see how Man U started the season, right? They were after first 2 losses, they were saying they cannot miss the top 10, and now after signing the Casemiro, because they are talking about being in a title race. If Arsenal loses next 2 matches, they are just 1 point behind the Arsenal. So what I'm trying to say, if you sign a key player at the right position, which is the problem for you, performance drastically improves. And when you win the matches, the narrative gets changed, right? Now look at the menu. Their 2 matches they lost, they were saying he came from Dutch league, he doesn't know, he's out of depth, this and that. Now you can see everybody is saying that Ten Hag is better than Pep and Klopp and everyone, right? If you see how Pep and Klopp started their team, and right now their team, none of those players are there. So 1 or 2 key players signing can improve your performance drastically. And once you start putting some performances and wins, you're back in top 4 race. We are just 7 points behind from the top 4. If only problem, we are in Jan window and hardly you could find a good player in the Jan window. That's the biggest problem. Otherwise, I think if we sign a right player, basically in a DM, and maybe one on right back, I think we are back in top 4 races with current.
German, let me ask you just a question, please, because I'm a huge fan of you. And recently, I changed his name. to animal reproductive system. Because right now, I don't know his position. I haven't. I don't know his position.
Oh no, here we go. Yeah, I don't know either. I just saw a stat that Casemiro's made more chances this season than Havertz has made in his entire Chelsea.
I'm confused right now. I don't know.
I know Havertz's position. If you, it's quite
he's a number 10 off the shoulder, drifting.
Yeah, exactly.
Player.
So he's a number 10.
But apparently, he's now a 9 again. So,
but he's not a 9. That's what annoys me.
Potter says he's a 9. Havertz says he's a 9. Hey, what do we know?
Look, he can play as a 9 with a 2 in a 4 treble 2 or something where there's someone with him and he plays more deeper of the 2, so he's more of a 10. Yeah, but then he has to be more of a 10 and then make runs behind or off the main person.
Can we play Christopher?
This is the most complicated shit I've heard.
Maybe
bro.
No, it's not. It's common sense. 4 treble 2, 2 people up front. One of them Kai Havertz, another that's more of a focus.
And then what would he give us with that? The only thing I've seen with Havertz that is good if you only give him 1 or 2 touches.
What do you expect? We're playing as
I expect more.
Yeah, but you expect more from all of them. So what
Yeah, but you know what's the thing? I agree with Lewis. I agree with Lewis because we spent like 80 to 90 fucking million euros, and we expected him to come at this point now that he stepped up to his potential, but he's still trying
Danny
to
Welbeck and Joe Willock have made more big chances this season than Havertz has made in his entire Premier League career.
I don't agree with him.
We moan about creating, but then we moan about what individual players doing, and it don't make no sense to me because we moan
because at least with Mount overhits shit, but at least he tries. Havertz doesn't. He don't even try. It's just non-threatening passes backwards and forwards all the time.
Yeah, and let's not remember 2 years ago.
And he's the most easiest player to mark, by the way, because he has no physicality. Just push him and that's it.
Lewis, that's a big thing, though. That's I think one of his biggest problems. He gets bullied too easy. And I noticed that...
You're asking him to be a focal point. He's not a fucking number 9.
Yeah, he's definitely not. We need somebody who holds up the ball up there as well. And like... If, for example, like a Kane will be a perfect striker for us, who could hold up, create, drop deep, But Havertz, like, he can't do that, and it's like a double negative because our strikers don't hold up the ball well, especially against physical teams. Like once the pressure gets turned up on us and they're very physical, we end up losing the ball, and you know how we suffer in transition, and that's the next phase that we suffer with because once they win the ball off, we're building attacks, and then people are going forward. We lose the ball, and then they're running at our midfield, and our midfield gets breezed by. And then you're putting our defense, and Silva don't really like to step out like that. And then Koulibaly, I don't know what's going on with him at the moment. And we got a right back that's freaking lugging himself and should go somewhere.
I just think we ask specific players to do things that they just can't do. I keep saying.
I think
all I ask is Havertz either create or finish.
Wait a sec. What we then do is that we all start stressing out and screaming at players who are doing something, but don't think about it.
Maybe this
go, well, why are they not doing it?
So I keep saying Mount and Havertz get given the most criticism. Mount and Havertz get given the most criticism because they play the most, and yet they bring the least to the team. It's as simple as that. Havertz, I don't see any discernible attributes.
Why?
Look, I'll be honest with you right now. Okay.
Why though? That's the
question.
Why?
I don't know. Wait. They shouldn't be playing this often. They're not good enough. They don't justify it.
I agree with Lewis about Havertz.
I'll put Aubameyang in the middle.
I agree with you
Mount,
with Havertz.
We just need a new midfield in general. I'd put in the likes of Gallagher. I'd rather we give Gallagher a run. I'd rather we give Ruben a run just for something different. Just other than the same old shit.
It's not false. I agree with you.
The problem is they start the most and they just don't justify it.
You know what's the thing? Remember how much we paid for Kai Havertz? How much did we pay for him to bring him from Leverkusen? We paid a shit ton of money.
And all the hype surrounding him, the next Ozil, the next De Bruyne, creative visionary, unbelievable finishing tech. And I've seen none of it. All I see is headers. Because it's such a disappointment, man.
May I have a moment?
He should be carrying this team on his back.
No, he shouldn't.
Yes, he should.
May I have a moment?
That's your expectation.
Sorry, Cyprus, my bad.
Because I'm thinking of now that Christopher Lukunku is coming in the summer, maybe we can see a different Kai Havertz. I don't know, because Nkunku for me is more like a. Is it false nine? Is it number 10? Is it left wing on this side? I don't even know. I have an issue with that. I don't even know, because the way I watch Nkunku in Leipzig, he plays as a second striker behind, or someone playing with him to like a 4-2-2-2 or a 4-4-2. So now you're bringing Nkunku in to play with two as a number 9 with Kai Havertz. Oh, I don't know.
And Nkunku's coming in to replace Kai, in my opinion.
Well, again, it goes down to formation, system, and this is why I keep saying I want to see Potter playing what he wants to play in the long term. And if he commits to that this season, and they still can't do it, which we know they're probably going to be the case, then he can sit back and go, "Well, look, it's what I have." You know.
Yeah, but Nkunku plays in the same positions you want Kai to be playing in.
Well, no, if he plays a 4-2-3-1, if he plays in a 4-2-3-1, Kai can play in the 10 role with Nkunku in front of him, and you can have Sterling off the right.
Yeah, but Nkunku's the 10. Nkunku is the 10.
No, then Nkunku is going to be the forward, end of. He's going to be up there.
Nkunku shouldn't be. His best position is a 10.
No, his best position is being in the box, creating for him, and then putting it in the back of the net. That's what he's done for Leipzig.
All I've seen from him is that his best position is a 10.
No, he drifts.
Or a second striker.
Off the left in a 10, but he plays up front. That's his position.
Yeah, and it sounds like the same thing that you guys say Havertz should be playing in.
No, because the difference between Nkunku is more of a finisher. He's improved that into his game.
Which means he's better, doesn't it?
Well, no, but my point is you play him up front to do that, and you play someone off him. It's not hard. It's not common. It's not rocket science.
No, you need him to be the creative outlet for us. Because we have got fuck all in there. And Havertz is not the creative outlet. Willock, Andreas Pereira have more big chances created in one season than he's got in his entire career.
So I'm going to finish off now. Anyway, I've got to go, but go on, go.
Oh, yeah, we've got to be on Lawrence's
Just to sum up with all of this, I agree with Luis about the Havertz thing, because we paid so much money and we're still waiting for this player to show up something, and we're getting fuck all. I agree with that. Okay.
I agree. What a consistent run of games. Sorry.
I agree that he has got some essential goals that have gave us some trophies, like Matt is saying. I'm not going to lie with that, but we haven't seen anything special about it. And, you know, talking about Nkunku, in my view on that, I think if you're going to play Nkunku and Havertz, in my view, it's better you have a striker and you play Nkunku and Havertz in a 3-4-2-1, for example, and they can be the 2-1 supporting the striker. That is my view on that. If you play with that system, no, they can give that.
I don't see that.
They can support that, and I don't think Potter is going to do that, because Potter is going to prefer a 4 at the back. Okay, I respect that, but in my view, Havertz is not a striker. And we have seen that he's not physical strong enough. If we're talking about strikers, we need to talk about strikers with the likes of Diego Costa. Man, he was a fucking built-up player. He was built different. This is what we're looking for. We need these kind of players back in the team. Players that are physically strong. Players that can bully defenders. That are going to give them nightmares. That's what that Chelsea need to look for in this transfer window or in the summer.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, Nkunku gives you the versatility, right? It needs versatility. Sterling's going to be a part of that, and then you're going to have
Sterling can fuck off. He hasn't offered anything for the club.
Amount or Havertz or whatever, but he's here for the future. Sterling was never going to be this. Again, I keep telling this to Chelsea fans: when we bought Sterling, do not rely on him to be the changer. You need something else with him. This was always going to happen. The only thing we know with Sterling is that he needs to do a bit more himself in his personal game, like from what I'm seeing of him. Other than that, he's our top goal scorer. But anyway, guys, I have got to shoot. That's the only thing. I had to stop it here because I am about to shoot anyway. Big up to every single one of you guys. Over 700 of views here as well. Smash the like, subscribe, follow Carefree Lewis on his channel as well. We'll be back again tomorrow with Ben Jacobs, I think at 1 o'clock as well. So big up to every single ones. Smash the like, leave a comment below, and we'll be back again very soon. Take care. Peace out.